Yes, well, beautiful. Welcome back to another brand new, exciting episode of Video Ditch with your hosts, Sam, Nick, Jake, joined today by a very special guest, one of the many developers we met at PAX this past summer. We've got Adam from the Slime 64 team joining us.
What's going on?
Yeah, thank you for joining us today.
Of course, thanks for having me.
Before we get into it, I guess you want to tell the viewers and listeners who you are and what you do.
Absolutely. Yeah. So my name's Adam. Online handles Wave Paradigm. I got really used to getting called Wave because actually at a job I had, there was another Adam and they knew me by my online handle. And so I come in, there's already another Adam there. And so they just all are, well, we're calling you Wave forever. And so for 3 straight years, I got very used to being called Wave as a first name. Adam or Wave, I've been making games since 2013. Really got into it at the beginning of my college career. Graduated in 2018 with computer science from a school just outside of New York City. I ran our school's game development club, and so getting new people into the hobby and into the field is something that means a lot to me. And ever since, I've used all sorts of game engines. I've done it for fun. I've done a few releases on Steam. Most of them are crap. Don't play it. Play the one I'm currently working on, which is Slime 64, which we've been working on. Oh God, over 6 years now, which is crazy. I could pull up some early builds on this for you guys. We can go through how crap it was and how good it is now. Working on Slime 64 is I would describe it as my first really major full-time release, where we're trying to go the distance. It's the first one that's a real video game, but everything else was a stepping stone to get there. Yeah, and so that's me. I've done work in the industry, done freelance stuff. My actual current day job is actually in boring computer land, enterprise software land, which is my boring job that pays the bills, which enables me to do all the fun, cool video game stuff and talk to lovely people like you. So that's me.
Have you on? Yeah.
I also like to talk a lot, if you could.
Thank God.
Great. It's great. Yeah.
Love guess.
Yeah, today, go for it, Nick, please.
I was going to say, I think we spoke about briefly at the time with them, but yeah, meeting you guys at that party was the highlight of it, As nice as it was, drinking just bottles on bottles of Polish...
Nick loves to tell this story, yes.
I don't know what the word is, moonshine, whatever they call moonshine in Polska.
Folk liquor.
Yeah.
The cultural drink of choice.
I was much more intoxicated by the conversation we were having. I will say
I have a funny story about the drinks at me and drinking at that party. We'll get there.
Oh, beautiful.
It's exactly the opposite of what you think it is when I describe it that way.
Perfect.
Oh, but we couldn't agree more. We were reflecting basically for the rest of that trip how we went there. We were completely overwhelmed. It was so not our scene. We were so tired, and we were basically just standing near the exit. That were like, "Oh man, we're ready to go." And then we just ran to you guys. We're like, "Oh, wait, fun conversation with people with whom we largely agree with their opinions."
Yeah,
literally so cool. We were just
I just walked over
a chair.
To you guys.
People thought I worked there because I was sitting there waiting for so long, standing there waiting so long. I was like, I'm just gonna drag a chair over, and I was like, they had this.
You know where the bathroom is?
Yeah, and I would just point in some direction and lie. No, but yeah, probably that way. They had this little I don't know, countertop thing with some chairs right on the other side, but I was worried sitting there I'd be in the blind spot and the friend we were waiting for would miss me. I was like, this is my game design brain thinking. I was like, I want to be in a place where there's no way she can walk past us without missing. And so I pulled it. I was like, do you think they'll care if I move this chair? And everyone's like, I don't know. I was like, they could tell me not to. And I just moved 2 chairs to the other side of the wall. So suddenly I'm there, this guy with in this chair on the blank wall, right on the stairwell, and everyone's walking past me, and people giving me these looks just hello, thank you for having me. And I'm just like, I don't work here, but you're welcome.
You look Polish.
So funny.
Thanks for having me.
I am, at least. I think some part of my random ancestry is Polish. So there you go.
There you go.
Anyway,
yeah.
Where were we? Sorry.
Yeah. Today we're going to be giving him the classic video ditch treatment, learning about his past, his influences inside and outside video games, and then talking about Slime 64, his current project. There's a demo out on Steam that we've all played. I only got 95% completion. I won't lie.
I got 100% of that game.
I got the cartridge.
It is just worth the play.
Yeah, and potentially looking towards the future. Any projects afterwards or within the Slime universe, but I'm sure we will get there. Before we get into, the nebulous gaming past, it's been a while. So, boys, how are you doing? Jake, Nick, whoever wants to take the floor. Any recent games you've been playing, or any experiences you want to share?
Games? I don't even know where to start, man. I started playing Kingdom of Loathing again. I don't know if you know what that is.
We've talked about it on the show before. This is like an ancient MMO kind of.
Yeah, it's old, text-based, barely considered MMO. I've been playing.
What is it? A mud? Is it a mud?
It's like mud-esque. It's like all stick figures. Like
is
graphically,
anyone playing though? Is any?
There's like maybe 150 active players, I would say.
Okay.
It's just like I don't know. It's nostalgic. I don't even know if I'm having fun. It's one of those instances where I'm playing it and I'm going through it. It's got a built-in limiter, so you can only do so much every day. Ooh. And I think it's more like I remember doing this, or like this is different than what I remember it. And I don't know if that's the same as having fun, but it's something.
Wow. What spurred the desire to jump back in?
I have no fucking idea. One day it just
struck you.
I feel like everyone's got a game like that. Mine was Fly FF for a long time. I don't know if any of you have heard of that. It was this like little Korean MMO.
Yeah, actually,
it was the MMO with hoverboards was the gimmick. Like at level 20, you got your hoverboard or riding broomstick. And the gimmick was just anywhere in this 3D world you could hop on a hoverboard and fly around. It was awesome.
I remember seeing ads for this on like addictinggames.com. Yeah,
it's kind of mid, but like I love it, and it's
classic Korean MMO.
You play it for like 5 hours, and you realize, wow, I am clicking on things to make a number go up that lets me click on more things to make that same number go up to click more things. Oh my God, where did the last 9 hours go?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. I still play old school RuneScape, so I
speaking of numbers going up, mindless numbers going up. I did play through Clover Pit. I got the review key for that. We're real game journalists now. I got
that's right.
So I
check that video out. Nick put so much effort into it. That's great.
Way too much. No views.
No, it's not too much. It's not too much.
0 views it's sitting at. I saw. That's fine.
Boost those numbers for Nick, please.
It's fine. It's fine. We got the game already. They already gave it to us, and I did what I was supposed to do. It was fun. I liked it. It's nice. It's nice to have brainless slop, but it's supposed to be to have a narrative behind it, so I can convince myself, like, yeah, this is smart. Actually, that I'm playing. I'm literally just doing the slot machine over and over, but the game's like, oh, isn't this
kind of crazy what you're doing right now? Yeah, there you go.
Isn't this kind of like Sisyphean? I'm like, yeah, that's smart. This is like a smart guy game for a smart guy like me, as I'm just like mindlessly pulling the fucking crank, like, zombie for hours. Yeah, it's a really smart game for really smart people like me, and everyone should check it out, and you'll feel really smart. It's like playing Balatro, but it makes you feel really smart.
Oh,
I've been on Clover Pit. I've been on Clover Pit since its demo, and I have been delighted.
Oh, so release. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, to give you a sense of where my brain was at ADHD wise, I was one of the people complaining. I didn't complain anywhere, but like they did an update like second day. They were like, we've heard the complaints. There's now an option in the setting to make the patterns like go by faster.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, finally, thank you. Yeah. I can now get more dopamine per second. And I played it, and then I decided for myself, that's still not fast enough. And I know how to mod Unity games. And I literally opened up the source code to the game to add in, press the 2 button to double the game speed of everything. And stuff started breaking, so I stopped doing that. But it was very fun when it worked.
Wow.
I mean, it sounds like a lot better. Yeah, that's the main thing that, pissed me off about the game. All the bells and whistles, get rid of that stuff. Just give me the raw numbers. Give me the raw big number.
No, I just need more dopamine per second. I'm not gambling fast enough.
I can't crank it fast enough.
I just need more. Anyway.
That's incredible.
Speaking in terms of gameplay, my actual complaint was when you'd have one pattern match that had like tickets and golden and like some other thing, and so it would be like match 3, match 3, and suddenly you went from it taking like 3 seconds, taking like 20, and I was like, okay, this is a little exhausting. But that was mainly fixed by their setting. So yeah, it's.
Well, that was the nice thing too. Just this is the last thing I'm gonna say. But once you get like a lot of tickets, you can start chain smoking, so you just keep fucking getting the cigarettes over and over until you get the lost briefcase. Oh, yeah. Just get the instant ante. Anyways,
game good.
It's all right. It's an okay game.
It's okay. I just lost 9 hours of my life in a single day.
Oh, actually, I can spin that. I can spin Clover Pit into talking about stuff with me, because do you know what they did before Clover Pit? Those guys.
Yellow Taxi goes vroom.
they spent 5 years on a Scrimblow indie 3D platformer,
Mhm.
and it made some money. And then they spent 1 year on Dopamine Roguelike, and it made a lot of money.
More money. Oh, yeah.
And it was probably more successful. I've done so much market research on all the 3D platformer stuff, and like, unfortunately, at least in terms of Steam, the picture's a little grim for what I'm doing. But the fact that I work a normal day job means I can just do what I love and not be too. I don't have to stress and be like, oh my god, if I don't make XYZ decision, I'm not going to be able to make rent this month. I don't have to do that. I just get to make what I think is fun.
Well, you just start off by making the platformer, then you make the complete soul crushing gambling simulator afterward. You just have to start off with a passion project, and then no matter how it does, you follow it up with a complete Faustian bargain game.
What they were actually saying was that they found that their sales for Yellow Taxi have gone up like crazy. Because what happens is you put that in a bundle, and then people play Cloverpit and they go, what else have these guys made? And then they find Yellow Taxi, they go, wait, this is awesome. And so it's multiplicative in nature.
Yeah, you see on the toilet, I think they have an ad for it on the newspaper.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. Anyways, Jake, have you played anything, or is it still RuneScape?
Just RuneScape all day, every day?
RuneScape very much, actually.
You sound like a fucking prisoner of war right now. You sound like you're being drained of the will to
You sound like John McCain the day he got rescued.
I got back from PAX and my fucking work life just...
I met Jake at the end of August at PAX West in Seattle, and then that man left, played RuneScape, and hasn't stopped.
Yeah. No, I wish. No, my job has just been rough, but I played through the Spyro trilogy and finished the remake.
There you go.
Yeah, it was just a nostalgia bomb for me, and it was, wow, Toys for Bob. It's just, they really did.
Nostalgia is a powerful thing.
You think it looks good or ugly?
I think at first it was a little jarring, pretty big juxtaposition from the old graphics, but I fell in love with it after a while. I think it's beautiful.
I do think that's one of the remasters that did it right.
Yeah, at first I was like, oh, this is almost like too shiny, too bright.
I've heard mixed opinions from folks specifically on like the foliage, right? Because the foliage is nice, but it not only is it like, more heavy and taxing on performance, it actually can prevent you from being able to see certain like
it's almost
that land close to the ground.
Yeah, that's for sure. That would be the one complaint I'd have for if it was the foliage. Yeah, because the old game, it's just barren.
It's flat.
It's
so you get the good draw distance.
We show foliage with painted. Yeah,
yes.
And on the PC, I think there's ways to turn the foliage down, but on console you can't. So
and I had
just turn off speed tree.
It was on sale. It was free, so I just downloaded it on PlayStation Plus and was like, yeah, I'm just gonna play this. And then it was really fun. But actually, recently after that, we did start Expedition 33.
Oh, you started it. You've gone on your gommage.
Yeah, we just 2 nights ago. We've only been able
omelette de grumage.
Pretty cool. Yeah, exactly. You die when you eat it.
We finished Act 1, so that was pretty heavy.
Oh shit!
That was done very well.
Oh man!
God,
it's the biggest game on my list that I haven't played that I know I need to.
Okay.
I believe I'm already hard sold. It's already sitting in the library. It's just a matter of getting the 40 to 50 hours to sit down and play it.
Right.
Which has been
that's how it was. Yeah. For me too, like it came out, I was like in the middle of 7 remake and playing other.
Did you guys finish that? Did you finish the second?
Yeah.
Oh, you finished the second?
Not Rebirth. We haven't played.
Oh, I was like, God damn.
So, no, I wanted to play this first and take a break because I know 7 Rebirth is huge.
It's a big one, yeah.
We did integrate and all that, but yeah, no, Expedition 33. It lives up to the hype and more. I'm so impressed.
I think so. It's certainly one of like the heavy hitters of this year, as far as like the mainstream scene when people are going to be talking about Game of the Year this year.
I don't know how it doesn't win.
Yeah,
I replayed through Hollow Knight too.
Silk Song came out too. I think since the last episode. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I have
to talk about. Yeah,
Silk Song because I never did any of the DLC in Hollow Knight, and my God, it's hard.
Yeah. I haven't taken the plunge into Hollow Knight as a series.
It's great. I mean,
I've listened to the music,
but it's great. And I mean, I love platformers. So, but yeah, anyways, that's what I've been playing with the little time I have. Actually, I haven't been playing a lot of RuneScape, but it'd be nice to switch off with Expedition 33. So sometimes.
Are you doing the Rune Light on your phone or whatever it is?
I do.
He's all in.
Browser tab.
I do both.
He's
I usually do like. If like if I handed the controller to Ivy to play Spyro for a bit, I would just have my mobile and just do something AFK, or if I'm trying to like do PvM, like do some bossing or something.
He's committed to the cause.
Oh yeah,
he's righteous.
You got to be able to have it on your phone and your PC so you can play RuneScape while you play RuneScape. It's very important.
Last time I was at Jake's house, he was like, "Oh, check this out, dude! I'm killing this like infernal demon." He was just standing there whipping it slowly, and I was like, "Yeah,
That's
man,
not true at all." Nick was actually impressed with it. He was like, "Oh, this is a little more complex than
this is sick. This is like fucking
dude. The ladder in that game now, that is ridiculous. That what they've done with a clicking simulator game, rhythm/rhythm game is wild. The high level stuff is impossible. I can't even do it.
One of these days, we're gonna have a whole Jake-centric RuneScape deep dive episode.
Oh yeah,
Thank you.
I think this is the start of
Patreon.
This is an intervention.
He's gonna have a whole Ice Poseidon arc. Gonna go straight from RuneScape to IRL streaming.
I like doing the basic stuff in that game, just mindless shit. The high level shit's too much. It's too hard.
That's crazy.
I know, to think like
it's like decades of design,
too hard
iterations.
Like, literally, that's what it is, right? The game's been built for 20 years.
It's crazy.
But like, how complex can we make this?
In our 5-hour video essay, we'll explore exactly that. Look forward to that.
Crazy. Anyways,
there's an audience for it.
There really is.
What's the longest video essay everyone here's made it through?
Anything by Noah Caldwell Gervais, I guess.
I was gonna say probably like a Never Knows Best video.
I was about to say
like
Never Knows Best. I've watched quite a bit of his. Yeah.
How long are those? How long are those?
Let me look
at
like 8 hours.
Yeah, we'll pull it up right now.
I think you guys win. I've done the H-bomb, the H-bomb video breakdowns, which are like 2.5 hours, 3 hours,
oh, yeah. You ever see the Mahler responses that are like 12 hours?
I certainly have a limit, and I think double-digit number of hours I think is definitely above the limit. I don't know where, but I think it's like 4. Like the moment something's 4 hours, it's like, okay, maybe in multiple commutes to work, I'll get through it. Only if it's really compelling. Also, I'm a lunatic who does stuff at or above 2 times speed, which helps.
Damn, dude!
You simply listen.
I admire
listen faster.
The ability.
As you can tell, I talk really fast. I get told at work, it's like, listen, I appreciate it. You're really in it. I really love everything you're saying. I need you to slow down. And I get that a lot. So I have to try to slow myself down. But then I go on YouTube and there's this really good video I'm really interested in. But the guy is just like, and so this is why after 13 hours, like, oh my God,
he's got to get the bad money.
Well,
he's got
that's
to
the
get
big
the 10
problem,
minutes.
though. That's the big. I feel like that is a problem with a lot of videos that people have really boring voices that they shouldn't be broadcasting at all. I don't like their cadence. I don't like their tone. I don't like their timbre, and they have like 8-hour videos. Like, this is the only video about this one subject I'm interested in, and you're the only one making it, so I have to watch it. I have to watch your entire catalog, but I'm
gotta buy YouTube Premium and watch them at 2.75x speed.
There
it's
you
the
go.
way.
I would normally call Nick out for like being a hater, but I do understand the dilemma.
I mean, what is it? My wife, I'll sometimes look over her shoulder. Now that she's given up on not looking at screens, and she's back on like TikTok and stuff, and she'll be watching TikToks at 2 times speed. Little 30-second videos.
Guilty as charged.
Oh yeah, flashes by.
Yeah,
that was good.
Guilty as charged.
On to the next.
She's just like Clockwork Oranging herself.
Oh fuck,
it's awesome. Anyways, Adam, why are you a gamer? How did that happen?
Yeah,
did you choice in the matter?
So no, definitely not. Or like I was born in the mid-90s. And so while you could charitably describe me as a 90s kid, my earliest memories are really of like the beginning of the 2000s, right? Like, my brain wasn't fully formed until the turn of the millennium, really. But yeah, we're all around the same, I think. But
completely became sentient with the crashing of the Twin Towers. That was your first memory.
They went down, and then my brain turned on. They were like, "Whoa, okay, maybe we should start paying attention to it."
Activated.
And what's funny is, I got family, and I'm here in New Jersey. I'm an hour away from the city. I got, I work in view. I went to school where you could see the World Trade Center across the river. There were stories from faculty at my college of when that happened. They literally saw that shit happen across the river.
Yeah.
They were like, yeah, it's not
so
on the
far
TV.
Removed in California.
That makes sense. I realized, I was like, wait, these guys are West Coast. They don't even. Yeah. No. They were like, look across. Look, no, it's not turn on the TV. It doesn't matter what channel. It's look outside. Yeah. Like, it was crazy. Wow. And so that stuff hit a bit closer for me, for sure. But at the same time, my brain was just turning on. So I didn't really know what was going on.
Right.
That
like,
said,
what the fuck? Where's the fucking Rugrats? Turn the shit on.
Yeah, I'm 3 or 4 years old, and I get an N64.
Oh yeah,
and I could give it an N64 for my birthday.
That'll do it.
Because the neighbors had one, and I think I had shown interest in it as a child, and for whatever reason, my parents got one.
You said 3 or 4 years old.
I'm like 3 or 4 years old, so it's like 1999 or it's 2000. Yeah, oh yeah. And for whatever reason, the 2 games. So it must have been the year 2000 because the 2 games they got me for it were Rayman 2 and The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask.
The greatest.
Perfect selections.
You could have picked, like, they didn't know it at the time, but my parents could have picked way worse. They did really. Those are 2 banger picks, and I'm sure I'm infinitely biased. I'm sure I'm infinitely biased because by definition they were the first video games I ever played. So of course I love them, but like.
I mean, I think they are the best.
I will stand by
respected series.
I gotta say, dude, that's so crazy. My first 2 games for same exact deal as you, except it was my cousins that gave me a 64. It was Rayman 2, only it was Ocarina of Time.
Right.
Zelda. Wow.
Those are my first 2 games. Like,
man after my own heart, he gets it.
Yeah, dude, I'm with you.
That's awesome.
Funny.
And so some of the earliest memories I have are traversing colorful characters through wacky, colorful, zany fantasy environments, right? You've got Rayman 2, which has this unbelievably awesome, like, painterly aesthetic. I finally went back and replayed it because as a tiny child, I could not beat the final boss of that game. I don't know if all of you have played it. The final boss of that game, it's on this flying barrel, which is like a mechanic they introduced late in the game. But the bit is that like, not only can it fly up and down and turn, when it turns, the whole world revolves around you.
Yeah, dude.
Like, you roll and the world goes upside down. And me, as a fully formed adult with spatial reasoning, can understand how that works. But I have a distinct picture in my brain of like what I thought that boss arena looked like. And I was like, I thought it was this like, just 5-dimensional space with infinite tunnels. Like, just it was impossible for my little brain to fathom what was happening on this. Like, I could not visualize what was going on. And so my dad had to beat the final boss of the game for me, and he held that shit over my head for a decade.
Damn,
I went back, I was like, I beat this shit. I don't need your help anymore. I was 3. I was 4 years old, 3 or 4 years old.
Yeah. That's funny.
But yeah, so I think those 2 really did. I think I reflect back on like my tastes and like what I like, and I look back at those. I go, wow, there's certainly a lot of things that I say I like now that are from that. How many opinions of mine are truly mine, or are simply given to me at a young age? But yeah, so that's what made me a gamer. And then of course, like throughout my whole life, I was a Nintendo kid for the most part. Eventually I got a PS2. Eventually I got an Xbox 360. Never had an original Xbox, but I got a 360. And then eventually, But I was a Nintendo guy, N64, GameCube, Wii. I was a Wii U, not on launch.
Hell yeah, man.
I still have it.
The Wii U.
Same. The Wii U Black 32 gig.
One of us.
There are not many of them, but it is the best way to play DS games because you got the touch screen and it can replicate both screens, both on your little gamepad and to the TV. If you're trying to play a DS game in a group setting, short of like emulating it and doing whatever, but then you're doing it with the mouse. And some games just aren't the same on a mouse. It's the best way to do it. There's yet to be a better answer for a DS game. But yeah, anyway, so Nintendo,
the Wii U alive. I love it. What are some like real like generational greats for you in gaming? Like
it's a great question. Yeah. So again, obviously on 64, I will stand by Majora's Mask forever. But I certainly, it's weird. Majora's Mask is easily my favorite game in the Zelda series. But if someone asks me like, which Zelda game should I play? It's not really the first one I reach for. It's I don't blame anyone who like walks away from that game deeply frustrated because you'll clear one of the areas and then you'll be like, I unlocked the dungeon, I'm gonna go do the dungeon, when in reality it's like wrong. You needed to go, now that you have the song, you need to go rewind time and slow it down and then start the dungeon because you don't have time to do that right now.
That's what makes it interesting.
To learn that the hard way is so brutal, and just such a harsh lesson for someone. And I wouldn't blame someone. They do that. They spend hours. They figure it out. They get to Woodfall. They're like, oh, I can get into the temple now. And then they don't realize that because they have the song, they now can skip right there on the next cycle. They don't need to do all that again. But they just go, well, and then they die, or they run out of time. They have no choice but to either save or die. And they go, I have to do all that again in one cycle, and and you took all of it away from me. I don't blame anyone who bounces off the game with that, because what I've learned for myself is that when a game takes, like, when I feel the game has unjustly taken progress away from me, I find that is what bounces me off faster than anything. Let me grind my face. You can be as difficult as you want, but don't, like, let me grind my face on the wall. Stop making me, like, stop taking away now. Which is why I have a hard time with Souls likes, especially ones with like boss runs where the punishment for dying is so hard. Hollow Knight, similarly, like I as a developer, I have nothing but the utmost respect for Team Cherry and everything they've accomplished. They're generational greats. I know that me as a player would hate every single second of Silksong, and so I simply will enjoy watching others play.
It's important to recognize.
Silksong looks pretty daunting. Like, even as someone who enjoys Hollow Knight, I don't know if I'll probably try it, of course, but it looks just almost.
My roommate now has 100%ed the game, everything fully done, and then he went back to Hollow Knight 1 because he was like, I need a little more of that. No, he was just like, oh wait, Hollow Knight 1 is Elmo's number adventure for toddlers by comparison to what's going on here. So if you walk away from Hollow Knight 1 with, wow, this is hard, you're screwed. You're
exactly.
There's no way. It's crazy.
No problem for me then.
Right, and for some people, they can, there's a sense of no thanks. It's not for me. It's a combination of the time and energy I have. It's like, it's what everyone goes to games to seek for. And some people want just the thrill of the accomplishment. For me, I already have to juggle, like, time spent making games and time spent playing games. Exactly. And so when I'm playing games, I do want to be getting dopamine, most fundamentally, which does kind of limit a whole subset of games, which, like, are games as art, which are designed to evoke certain experiences, which may or may not be positive. Which I think is great, and I love to see the artistry of it. But I know that where I'm at in my life right now, I got enough of that. I want happy-go-lucky fun time.
There's room at the table for everything. With that, do you think that that sort of, like, dopamine seeking philosophy, do you think that's translated into your game design as well?
It has,
like, your value set of game design.
Most specifically for slime, yes. Like it has helped us narrow down what we want for slime. But let me rewind for just a second and run through a few, rattle off a few favorite games, and then I'll get there. And in terms of games that immediately come to mind, right? I'll just go console by console. N64 we've already talked about. GameCube was my next one, and I lived on my GameCube for a really long time. Smash Brothers Melee, I was a competitive player in college. I was our Marth main. We went to tournaments. I had a combination of fun and some of the highest highs and lowest lows.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, it's fun, and I love platform fighters. But two things: one, I now have bad wrists, and I'm sure those two facts are related. For one, but two, I had to stop at someone because I was like, oh god, it's like the League of Legends thing where it's just like, oh god, every time I play this, I'm angrier than I was when I started. So like, why am I doing this to myself?
My cortisol levels are raised. This is not good
because you're not winning enough.
All right, I had this like negative sum game. There's positive sum, zero sum, and this was like, if I win, that's just the expected results. That's not good enough. That's baseline. That's the expectation.
What do you need?
Obviously. Dopamine is when I get to style and flex on the guy, and it's just I feel like I'm moving and
you're crushing.
If I win, that's just normal, and if I lose, that's bad. And I'm almost never schmixing on people unless they're terrible at the game, which doesn't happen as you go to more tournaments.
Yeah. And then you don't
sometimes winning losing
rates.
And so the net emotional result over time was negative. And I'm not saying any of this is rational or healthy or good, but it's what my brain was doing.
I feel the same exact way.
You're 100%.
Very relatable.
That sentiment is what made me basically stop playing League in the last year. Like, I gave it up pretty much because I was like, winning feels good, of course, but it doesn't feel as good as losing feels bad.
Yeah,
right?
the emotional delta for winning is slight positive, and the emotional delta for losing is far negative.
I see.
And so the scales swing negative over time.
Way too much over time.
Wow.
And so I graduated. What it was in college, I had a ton of friends who were playing all the time. It was like one of the main ways we just hung out was, someone has a setup in their bag and they set up and we all play and we hang out. I had a game
Melee
in my bag at all times. It's like games, whatever. We had CRTs in like a bunch of like the dorm waiting rooms, which was crazy because they were antiquated as hell for the time. This is not 30 years ago. This is like 2017. CRTs were ancient already, but we had them and we would go. We would set up and it was fun, but like, we all started graduating, and I had to sit down with myself and be like, what do I want here? Because it's like I kind of have to make a choice. Either I want to go the distance and do meaningful practice and hone the skill and get better and go to tournaments and win or improve, or I just want to be able to have fun, man. And like, I truly envy every person who's never played a Smash game competitively, because you can just go over to a friend's house and boot up Smash Ultimate, like 8 players, items on, great game events, and have fun.
That's
fun,
awesome, fellas.
That's what it's for.
Choose fun.
It's not fun.
It is fun.
I can't do that anymore.
I envy everyone who is able to have fun, because I can't. I find myself unable to, because it's one of those like cursed eldritch knowledge you can never unknow, and it's
you
like,
and
it's
I
over.
were both ruined forever.
That said, you've got Rivals 2, which plays like Project M, which is freaking awesome, and you've got now a few quick matches came out, which is this funny little stick
I saw
figure.
You were playing.
It's this funny little stick figure game, and it's awesome. It's really good. It's so funny.
Okay.
It's got no grabs or ledges or shields, and every time you hit the guy, you press one button to cancel all end leg, and then you hit them again, and so you end up just going bip, 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 and then they die. And but then the same thing happens to you. It's very explosive. It was $5 and we had fun. Anyway,
quick matches, indeed.
So it's well named.
Game.
So platform fighters, melee, and of course, basically the full Smash series. Brawl, Subspace Emissary is a formative childhood memory, because that stuff was incredible. Gameplay wise, I wasn't too huge on it, actually. Just like I found like the Smash engine really didn't lend itself all that well to a 2D platformer, I don't think. But like those cutscenes, there's nothing quite like them. That's like peak fanfic for a kid, right?
Some like Avengers level fan fiction, yeah.
It's postmodern.
Just like Kingdom Hearts.
It's exactly Kingdom Hearts.
Yes.
Halo 3 is another one out there as generationally good game.
Wonderful.
Just jumping over to and then of course Reach was also incredible. Started bouncing 4 I liked like for the multiplayer, but it was way different at that point, and so I sort of started bouncing off. But like 3 is the big memory, and Reach also was incredible. ODST also really liked. So just the bangers, basically the Xbox 360 Bungie era Halo, all of it I think was just banger after banger after banger. I didn't have an original Xbox, so I had never played 1 or 2.
You didn't play 1 or 2.
And I've gone back now since. And I have mixed opinions from a campaign perspective. I respect what they were and doing, but like I feel, especially Halo 1, I feel the Doom Half-Life 1 like
Half-Life 1
early FPS design, mowing through samey looking hallways, shooting dudes over and over and over and over and over again in a way that feels so samey that I get kind of turned around. It's good. It was phenomenal for the time. It had great story. I love Mr. John Master Chief and all. But for me, three is where it made the jump to being like the cinematic sci-fi, epic. I think, and where like, and so that's certainly. But obviously, I'm biased. It was my entry point.
Right.
I love 3. So I'm always going to love that one.
And 2,
I think you're in saying that.
3 for like gameplay wise, I agree. It's and cinematic wise.
2, I know the plot is 2 is the story. 2 the campaign's better than 1. At least I don't know if that's a hot take, but
honestly,
no, it's true.
It is. Yeah, I think personally I like 2 the most, but I agree that 3 just wasn't long enough. Like I agree,
and I will totally grant that. But what is there?
It's phenomenal.
I think of the best in the whole series.
Formative, gaming memory.
I'm gonna pivot hard on you guys. I'm gonna go from saying things you've definitely heard of to stuff that I'd be shocked.
I love the obscure shit. Yes, please.
Let's see what you got.
So first up, the company Hudson Soft. You might recognize their name. They made a bunch of the Mario parties. I think they made almost every Mario party up through 8. So they made like 1 through 3 on the N64, all the GameCube Mario parties, and like Mario Party 8 on the Wii. And randomly, in the middle of all that, they, as a launch title for the Nintendo Wii. Yes, they had the B logo. Yep. They, as a launch title for the Wii, made this little marble game called Koro Rimpa Marble Mania. And the gimmick is that it's like these cute wooden courses in different environments, and you tilt the whole stage by tilting the Wii remote around. And so like you want the marble to roll, you just tilt the whole course forward and you tilt it back, and you can like you roll it up 90 degrees to make the ball go up a thing and now ride on the wall, and you're doing it sideways. Love that game. I stand by that game. It cultivated a lifelong love for
certainly
Marble
have not heard of this one.
Right. I love it. They had a sequel in like 2010 called Marble Mania. Marble Saga for Rimpa, I'm sorry. And then separately, of course, on the Xbox 360, you had Marble Blast Ultra, which most people have heard of more so. And those 3 this game is incredible. I stand by this. If this game has no fans, I died. I love this game so much.
Because Got a 69 out of 100 on Metacritic.
What's it called?
There you go.
It's floating around the 6 and 7 out of 10 range.
It's good. It's better if it's divisive, I think.
Listen, I would take a generational 7 out of 10 over a perfectly milk toast 9 out of 10 every day.
Beautiful.
I would rather a game stand for something and not get there than a game that has next to nothing to say, but everything's polished. Yeah. And so that game, that we'll get into it, because you'll see how I've made multiple marble games in my day, and even that some of that DNA has made it all the way to slime in the form of rock power. So you'll so that's the other one that immediately comes to mind.
You ever watched the Marble Olympics?
So that's those different like marble runs, right? I don't think I've seen that one specifically, but I do love those, and I'll talk about that when we get to future game ideas, because oh boy, I've been doing some thinking. All right, so that's so we talked about different. So beyond 360.
Is there any other?
I'm just trying to think.
The 2010s.
The 2010s happened. Portal 2, Portal 1 and Portal 2. I know it's 2011. It's early, but there are very few. There are not that many games that are like, if a new entry in this series dropped tomorrow, I would call out of work. Like I don't have a lot of those. 3D Zelda is one of them. My love for it started with Majora's Mask and all that, and I truly like. 3D Zelda drops, I play it. It almost doesn't matter. Portal is another one where like Portal 2 happened and I took like a week. I lucked out. It came out at spring break during high school for me. And so I got to just binge that shit for like a week straight. And it was like one of my favorite moments ever. That game was so good. It was just the perfect intersection of like tech and writing and game design and puzzle. It was so good.
God, I miss Valve.
Yeah. Apparently they're still doing stuff. I got to meet actually at PAX. Steam, they had this developer meetup where you could go meet some of the Steam employees, which is to say the people at Valve whose job it is to write the code that runs Steam. I got to meet a bunch of those people and a bunch of other developers. The developer of Schedule 1 was there. Notable people were there. Again, I felt like a fish out of water because I was just some guy no one had ever. I'm like, I'm making Slime 64. You haven't heard of it.
We understand the.
But everyone was super nice, and I got to learn a lot. My favorite moment was I actually got one of the guys working on Steam to like jot something down because I had a question. I was like, so we've had our demo up for like a few years, and I play it on my Steam Deck all the time, and it runs great. However, I'm not Steam Deck verified. I understand that it's a demo, so maybe you just don't do it for demos. Is there something I can do? Is there something I'm missing? He was like, well, normally we don't do it for demos just because there is like a manual process there. And so if we said we would do it for all demos, we're just doubling our workload, basically. He's like, so that's why we generally don't. Like maybe, if your demo is similar to the full game and it's time to review the full game, maybe at that point we would quickly check the demo. And if it's basically the same, we would mark both the same way. But there's a field, he says, to go in and like just sort of put developer notes where even if we haven't reviewed it, like you can just tell people how it runs on Steam Deck. And I go, right, I saw that on the little bat dashboard, but I'm not sure if I saw that for a demo page specifically, because distinct demo pages is
right, separate from the product.
And he looks at me and he grabs his notepad and he starts writing down. He's like, let me get your email address. And he literally was like, because he wasn't sure if like that was a missing, like a little gap in the functionality. And he was just like, oh shit, we should fix that if we don't have it.
That's your in to get the game.
It was, so they were so cool. And it was really interesting to get their mindset on stuff. And truly, like, I pray that Steam stays as like meritocratic as it is. They do so much work to make sure it's as hard as possible to like just buy success on Steam. They do everything in their power to like, they were just like, our goal is to have people, like we want people that come to Steam to find games they want to buy and to then buy those games, right? And so if like fundamentally that makes total sense from their perspective, right? They make money every time a sale happens. It's for their perspective, they want to, but they want happy customers, and they want happy developers. And so it's just like, you need to make a game that people want to buy. And our job then is to try everything in our power that if there is someone on our ecosystem who would buy your game, if we put it in front of them, get it in front of them. Like, that's our goal. And so everything you hear about in the world of indie space is about maximizing all the different metrics that tell the algorithm exactly that. And so it's about your click-through rate. How many people, when they see your game and thumbnail show up, they actually click it. The higher that is, the more times it'll show it to more people. How of the people who actually click in, how many do they watch the trailer? Do they wishlist? Do they actually buy the game right then and there? all of those metrics go into then, that's where you get your algorithmic explosion. It's because Steam is so unfathomably large. Like, truly, that's where the magic happens. And so, if that all goes away and one day it's just like, you can just buy ad space on the front page, and it's a bidding war. Actually, every day you bid for ad space, it's over. Like Steam would make more money than they do right now, but it would be over for both the user experience and the developer experience. And so I love that. I'm not going to sit here and say it's good that we have. I'm not going to sit here and say it's good that we have a total monopoly on PC game distribution, but like on one hand, it's not. There are other options. You have EGS, you have EGS,
store.
You have whatever.
You had GOG.
You got some I love and respect GOG. Actually, I do think they do a lot of good work here. But yeah, so where was I going with all that? Man, I talk a lot, but I sometimes lose my train of thought.
You met John Steam.
I do like that the fact that the monopoly is with such a great platform. You choose the benevolent dictator. You choose the benevolent dictator over the evil one anytime. Yeah, better than it being the Microsoft Store being a monopoly on games distribution.
Oh yeah.
Jesus
the day the game dies, gaming will become North Korea.
We only hope that there are measures in place at Valve to keep it not like that. And we'll see what happens, I suppose. But he's a wealthy old white guy with access to the best healthcare in the world. He'll live for a while.
Forever. We're in the future. We're in the cyberpunk future. We're already
living his head, whatever.
RoboCop
Futurama
reality.
character.
Yeah, very good. Well, okay.
Anyway,
so those are some of your generational greats.
Yes.
What was your first interest in game development? When did that get sparked? Was it in college or was that?
It actually was a bit before. It was before. I actually started by doing music for games because I also have a musical background.
Hell yeah!
I played clarinet, I played piano, and I kind of started getting into music production with a copy of FL Studio in high school. It was fun. Actually, I started with Pro Tools, and I really didn't like Pro Tools, and then I ended up getting FL Studio, and it's been better. At some point, I wanted a thing where I could just kind of click fun. I had like a Genesis sound font, and I was able to just kind of you click this out, and it does this, and then whatever, and I could noodle on the piano, and then translate to the thing, and that's still the process. So I was doing music for game stuff, but I hadn't really done games proper. And then around the same time as I was picking up music for games, it's not making games, but it was modding a game, which was actually It was Cave Story.
Wow, So the Cave Story through line in so many of these
Cave Story is incredible.
It's a massive.
It happened in like 06. I discovered it in like 2010, I think, or 2009, probably like middle school for me. 08, 07, 09, somewhere in there. And then I've realized they have these lovely forums. Rip all forums on the internet. But at least their relevance. But like, they have these forums and they would have these modding contests, and it was just this simple toolkit you could download, and you kind of just like click and drag tiles, and you can make your own maps. You can make that. There was a simple scripting language. You could write dialogue and make them say different things. And I made this really horrible, terrible Kaizo mod for this thing as part of like a Halloween contest. And a few people played it, and like no one beat it because it was impossible. But I was like, I made a thing and people played it. That's incredible. I think that's where it all starts. I didn't do much else with that for a while. I did like a bunch of Halo Forge, right? Like Halo 3 and then Halo Reach had the way better Forge.
That was really cool.
I was really getting into that was like my first. And then I got into like a lot of Minecraft, which kind of supplanted that for a while, like building 3D spaces.
Like environmental kind of design.
Yeah, like building spaces was cool. But then eventually I make it to college and I'm doing music, but like I'm doing computer science because I was like, I kind of want a job that I'm somewhat confident I'll be able to like get paid for a living as much as I love doing music. And my utmost respect to all the professional musicians, and I wish them all the best. I was like, I don't think that life's for me. And so I will simply do all the fun music extracurriculars. I joined band and choir and whatever, but I'm going to do my, technical stuff. But I was doing music, and I meet at like the club fair, the guys who run the Game Dev Club. And I was like, I do music. They're like, we need someone who does music. Please, for the love of God, join the club. And so I joined, and I start doing things, but then, I'm a programmer. And I like join up with some of the guys who are like doing games for like a game jam, and I make music, and I'm like kind of watching them as they do stuff. I'm like, wait, I could do that. There's nothing they're doing that I don't think I understand. And I actually, weirdly enough, the first engine I decided to download, and I could not tell you why, was Unreal Engine 4. It was the first one I did. And I did it before, this was 2014. It was before they made it free. I had to pay
Paid
$30 a year. It was cheap. It was $30 a year as like a subscription service to be able to do it. And within the year that I paid it, they went, actually, we're making Unreal Engine 4 free for everybody. And if you're a paid customer, we're going to give you all these like perks and like store credit and all these things as a thank you. We're not going to literally refund you, but like you no longer have to pay.
Shop. Yeah.
Here's a bunch of in-store credit for what you paid, and also like go nuts. And here you go. And I liked the blueprint scripting. It helped me mentally kind of separate like the academic programming I was doing for school and like the game logic stuff. It was just like a click and drag scripting language. It was hard. It was weird. Unreal Engine specifically, I think is not the best choice for a starter engine. I don't think it is the one I'd recommend to people. But a lot of people do what I did, where they feel kind of overwhelmed by programming games, and so they go, well, I can't understand like coding and programming, but I can understand this little visual spaghetti that like, oh, I click this and it goes to there, and then that happens.
Right.
And they find that easier to get started. There are equivalents for Godot and Unity, but they're not so baked into the engine. They're like kind of third party like expansions. And some people are like, well, it's more complicated to get started and import that and get that up and running than it is to just open the engine and click the two buttons that are built into the engine that make you see the logic. That's easier. And so that's why I think some people get pulled into Unreal. Plus, it's like the industry standard and it like looks all pretty. And so the very first things I made were
soul, frankly.
You have to be careful, or you have to be intentional. And unfortunately, the very first thing that demands in Unreal is like turning off every single setting they have by default on, and then kind of selectively bringing them back. Everyone says they can tell when a game is a Unity game or an Unreal game, and they're not wrong. But what they mean is they can tell when something's using all the default settings from one of those engines. Like no one looks at Hollow Knight Silksong and goes, "Oh, that's so obviously a Unity game." Like, no, you don't. Like it's made in Unity, but it could just as well be made in anything. Like what is Celeste? Trick question. Celeste wasn't made in an engine. It was made with the XNA framework and just coded from scratch because those guys are nuts. Crazy. And then and Pseudo-Regalia is this chunky low poly platformer game made in Unreal Engine, but it runs like a dream because they turned off every single dynamic light source and motion blur and post-process effect and just cranked it all back. Unreal Engine 4 has its roots in the original Unreal Engine built in like 1998 that was pumping out low poly count whatever's on your random Windows 98 machine. So like it can do it, but everyone wants Lumen and Nanite and to bring in crazy, 1.8 million poly count statues and have them, destruct in real time, and then is surprised when they're getting weird temporal like artifacts and bad like weird shimmery lighting, and the game runs like crap for everybody because
why is my performance bad?
Epic made a bunch of promises. Epic made a bunch of promises with Lumen and Nanite early on that I think they were more optimistic they'd be able to hit than they've been able to in practice in a lot of ways. I'm sure there are ways to be better about it than a lot of people are, but the problem is like they sell this fantasy of it's a poly count doesn't matter, number of lights doesn't matter, number of shadows doesn't matter, size of your terrain doesn't matter, 8.4 billion triangles with 37 lights per square inch doesn't matter. We can handle it all. Your grandma's toaster can run it at 100,000 frames per second. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's not true.
That's
but
a lie.
The moment you peel that back, it's like, oh, to get good performance on like medium target machines is actually really hard, and you have to be way more intentional, and you almost have to reevaluate all your pipelines to the ground up. But at that point, why are you using that when that's true of all things? You lose the full fantasy that it is, and so that's the problem.
Sorry, I gotta run to the restroom. I'll be back. Don't stop that.
Oh yes. Sure. We'll do a little technical difficulty.
Sorry, I just saw his profile picture.
The Nigel Thornberry.
Yeah, just don't even worry about that.
Classic.
Anyway, right. So game engine. So I got started in Unreal, right? The first games I did were all the games I was doing were ones that you could do as quick modifications to one of the built-in templates. So you had a template that was the first-person shooter template. You had a template that was like the roll-a-ball template, where you got a ball that would roll around for you, and they even set the basics of that up for you. And it was just in this crap little room. And so the first three games I made were all different first-person like puzzle platformy games, where I just learned and played with different things. Where really the first thing I did was remove the gun. It was really just to get that first-person movement controller. The first one was about you had a light source that you could turn on and off, because I really liked this built-in flame effect. I thought looked really nice. And getting dynamic lighting, right? You would turn the light on and you would turn it off. And the gimmick was like, oh, there were zones where you'd be seen and you would die if you had your light on. So you had to turn the light on and off and on and off. it turns out making a game where the gimmick is you can't see half the time isn't the best game. Especially if you're not smart enough to like make that interesting. There are games that simulate blindness that do cool stuff with like echolocation, but like that's crazy shader magic that like at the time I was not smart enough. And frankly, even now I'm not sure I'm smart enough to do that. So that wasn't great. The next one was more fun. It was I gave you a fun little hexagon gun. I called it the impulse gun, and the gimmick was you press the button and it shot you backwards. And so it was basically rocket jumping simulator, but you could do it anywhere. And so. You point down, you'd shoot to jump high, and then you would platform around in first person. And then I made a few more like that, and then I finally was like, well, maybe I should stop making 7 different first person games that are all kind of one, not that interesting. And so then I was like, I want to do a bigger project. I love that marble game, and they have a rollerball template. Let's try to make a marble game. And then I tried that like 4 times. It was called Spherical. It happened. It was okay. I play it and it feels like crap, but like I know exactly why, and I learned a lot.
Yeah, what are some of the biggest lessons you think you've learned from those early projects, from the first person ones to like the marble prototypes? Like
the advice I give everybody is like for every project you do, your aim should be to try something you've never done before and to learn from it. So because then like over time, especially if they're like game jams and small short-term projects, because every time you do that, even if the game sucks, or even if it doesn't do well in your specific jam or whatever, like that's you now have one more skill to put in your toolbox, and you do that enough times, and you suddenly start to be able to break any arbitrary problem down into its constituent steps and know what you would need to do to get there. And so like, whereas I was starting and I was learning the basics of like, oh gosh, how do I detect that the player has entered a region? Like, okay, I rather like take your example where I have like a little fire orb that I turn on and off in my hand. It's like, okay, how do I make that follow the player as it moves around? Okay, you can attach it to the camera so that as the camera looks around, it's there. Okay, how do I turn it on and off when the player presses a button? Okay, there's this update loop, and in the update loop, you check if the button was pressed, and if the button was pressed, I can grab the other object because I know where it is and tell it to turn itself on or turn itself off. All right, and then okay, well, how do I know that I'm in a region? There's a way to do that. How do I know what's in the region? And then I can tell it, hey, you entered my region. Oh, do you have your fireball on and you're in my region? Oh, die and respond to that.
Yeah, okay. And
you learn the Google searches you end up doing as a game developer or a programmer in general would get you on some kind of list, C++, how to kill parent process and all children. Like you kill parent and children. It's like, oh no, how to end up on all sorts of unpleasant lists.
That's funny.
But and so like you build that fundamental library of skills, and I think what the problem was that with Spherical Saunter, I wanted it to be this big marble game with 50 levels and all these things. I ended up getting to like 22 before I finally was like, I have to stop. This is too much. I'm going to put out what I have to be done.
Yeah.
And so, but like I didn't have the skills necessary to like really. I wasn't ready to scale up yet, and like you never know until you try sometimes. But like the common advice you hear always is like make small stuff, no matter how small you think it is, make it smaller. And like there's a reason people say that, but there's also a reason people ignore it. I think like you don't get into games because you want to make a 5-minute little experience. You get into games because you want to make the stuff you love. It's just but the problem is you then do the same mistake everyone does, and you learn the hard way why people tell you to start small. But like I don't really regret it because I learned, and I did a ton of jams in different engines. I've worked in Unreal Engine, Game Maker Studio, Godot, Unity, a bunch of little proprietary things, which coregames.com. I did stuff in, and now I've done stuff with Sandbox, which is actually basically Gary's Mod 2. Being made by the guys who did Game.
The source to Gary's Mod.
And I am one of the people making games on that right now, and it's really cool. I mean, like the development preview, that stuff's really cool. And so you learn more and more engines, and just like everyone gets really uppity about programming languages. You're like, oh, is it JavaScript or TypeScript or C# or C++ or Rust or whatever? At some point, my line is like, at some point, the concepts and the language, it's almost like being multilingual, right? At some point, if you know enough languages, at some point you stop thinking in any one language and you think in concepts, right? It's like
context,
you're thinking in the
concepts.
And it's like, okay, I know that I want to convey to this person that like I am looking for the location of this restaurant with this name. Okay, where am I? What language do they speak? And how do I convey that question that will get me the answer I need in whatever language I'm in? And I'm not saying it's that simple. I'm a monolingual English speaker, and I find learning new real language, like spoken languages, to be so brutally difficult. But the same concept applies to programming languages. But at the end of the day, you've got functions and loops and variables and data types and like structures of how you do all that. And at some point, the syntax changes and like the particulars tweak. But like at the end of the day, it's like if you know how to do control flow and you know what you want the computer to do, It's just about getting it into the right language. And so you learn over time that like the language is less important. There are better languages for learning, I think, than other ones like JavaScript and Python. There's a reason people start with that just because it's like a little less finicky to get up and running. But like at some point, you know, an engine's an engine. It's a tool like any other. And like it has things it's better at and worse at. And you pick the one that's the right fit for what you're doing. And for me, I learned pretty quickly that was not Unreal Engine. For a while, I did Game Maker for a while because that one was fun and easy, but entirely 2D. And then I wanted to get back into 3D, but knew I didn't want to do Unreal. And that's what ultimately led me to Unity. Because especially at the time, Godot was nowhere near where it is now. Yes. Godot is so much better now. It's so much more mature, and it's getting more mature every day, which is so awesome. And I really look forward to the day when like you can kind of just be like, oh yeah, do Godot, and it's not even a choice. Just like, you know, someone's like, I want to learn 3D modeling today, right now. Where do I get started? And everyone's like, okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to download Blender. Right? Like, there's not even a question of which modeling software you're going to download. You download Blender. Like, you could do Maya. Some people in the industry do Maya because and it's the industry standard for a reason. But Maya costs $2,000, and if you're learning, you're not going to do Maya. Yeah, you're going to download the one that. You're gonna go to blender.org and download the program for free, and then you're gonna use it. And like, I hope that Godot, it's already really close, but it's getting there. And so I've done a little bit in Godot. I want to do more, but the problem is now I'm 8 years entrenched in Unity specific knowledge, and it's just so easy to make more stuff in Unity. Went back when that like the runtime fee happened, you remember? I'm sure you heard all the noise, and everyone was really angry at Unity because they basically pulled a "pray we do not alter the deal further" thing on like all the license deals and everything. They tried to claim that retroactively, like, you know, even though ostensibly like people, when you publish with them, like you agree to a particular set of terms, they don't get to retroactively change what you agreed to. If you update the engine and then release again in their new engine, you could do their new terms. But like the idea that any of this would have applied to stuff that already existed was crazy, but they were making it sound like it would. And there was it's based on number of downloads, and if you've made this much money, and then every new download you get, even if it's the same person downloading it to a different machine, you owe us like 20 cents as a fixed number. And people ran numbers where it was like, I could end up owing you money for people who just downloaded my game for free and then did nothing, and I owe you money for the privilege. It's like, how are you gonna? Hey, my game is entirely offline. How do you know that they installed it to their machine? Are you sneaking like spyware into all of my games now? Like, what is this? And so, you know, it was so obviously like a corporate exec thinking they had a really good idea, and like multiple people internally being like, hey, this sucks, don't do it. And it was like, that's nice. That's not what I pay you to do. Put out the press statement. And then everyone blew up at them. And you know, they walked it back. They walked it back. And what was just amazing though is it could, like, you would think it was paid advertising for Godot, because on the very same day that happened, literally the same day, like 1 hour before like the Unity press release goes out, it gets everyone really mad. Godot goes, hey, we're officially announcing like the Godot Developer Fund, where anyone can come here and like basically do like a Patreon thing and help support long-term Godot development. We're really ready to ramp this up. We're really excited. We think we can really be a contender for the future of open source gaming. An hour later, Unity goes, we are screwing every single one of our customers as aggressively as humanly possible.
Yeah, opposite ends of the spectrum right
there. And it was just like, oh my God, these two things are right next to each other. It was incredible. And so, you know, their numbers skyrocketed overnight. It was truly incredible. Anyway, that's the game dev journey in a nutshell. And now I'm here making stuff in Unity. I forgot. Once again, I've forgotten the original question.
Oh, no worries. Well, let's move on to Slime 64.
Yeah, the main topic.
Yeah.
Fun stuff, man. Mm-hmm. I think that was the first thing I sent you. I just sent you a screenshot of the 100% of Slime 64 screen.
My man.
Nice.
So I can't even talk to this guy until I really understand his game.
What was before I even start? What was everyone's favorite like power, like or a combination of powers? Is it? You can say all of them. It's a bit of a cop out answer if you had to pick one.
Rock and fire.
Really rock fire, desert.
I liked the water. I liked the boost. You know, going through that felt really good because there was an element of like having to aim, having to like kind of line it up was satisfying and kept me engaged.
Yes. Rock was the hardest.
Rock was fun. Yeah. The physics on the rock were.
I've tuned them a lot.
Yeah,
I've tuned them a lot since you've played it. Since that demo, I've tuned them a lot. They're actually more. The rock is more, I would say, more controllable. Specifically, just in the case of like, oh gosh, I'm pulling towards a ledge. Let me change direction. It is more responsive now than it was.
Beautiful.
It's not, it's not super one-to-one, like you can never fall off a ledge as long as you, but like it's noticeably more responsive in a good way, I think.
That's exciting to hear.
And then Jake, what about you? Hell yeah.
Rock.
And it's just so funny because first, again, before I get distracted and go down 3 more tangents, Slime 64 starts in 2019. I graduate in 2018. And Stevens, the school I went to, does a really cool thing where instead of doing like a senior thesis, you do what they call senior design, where people come in with basically client work. Maybe it's volunteer work, maybe it's like startup opportunities, whatever it is. And they basically, hey, do free labor for these people. And these clients will then tell you did a good job. You get client experience and do stuff. And either you end up getting like a minority stake in the thing you contributed to, or it's like an open source designy thing. It's good for the students, good for the people, good for the school, maintaining these relationships. And you do that work and the client signs off that you're doing the deliverables and everything. And then that ends up being like one of your graduation requirements. You do this program. And so when I was a senior, some guy from upstate New York with really no notoriety to he was nice, comes in, he's like, I want to make a video game. And I was like, oh, I get to make a video game for school credit, let's go. Oh yeah. And so me and a few others did it. And he, as a client, I think he was just really busy in his life, but he would vanish for like a month or more at a time. He would just kind of drop some requirements and then
mysterious.
And we would do our best. Then he'd come back and be like, well, no, actually it should be this. And like, for the one hand, like, I don't think we did a great job actually implementing on that project. Like, I think us as developers, there was a lot we could have done better. But like, I think give and take, right? I think we should have gotten the feedback that this wasn't working way sooner and been able to kind of iterate on it. But like, cause he would just kind of but again, like, so I was like, as a client, as someone doing the work for this client, I was like, this wasn't the best client. It was a good experience. You end up working with clients who just aren't the best to work with. And like, he was a nice guy again, but like,
you learned to navigate that.
And I was just like, well, if that guy could do it, and he didn't seem to have any particularly notable credentials. It's the final day of the thing. We're all showing our demos in this like expo hall, people going around looking at all of them. The director of the computer science department who like runs this program is walking by, and he knew us because we report to him on our progress like once a week or whatever. And he comes by and he's looking and he's, whatever. And I just go, hey, hypothetically, like, what would it take for someone like me to run one of these, like be a client for one of these projects next year? And he goes, oh, send me an email. I was like, oh, that's like so. I thought it was like make a generous donation to the
networking
school
is so
stipend.
grand.
Yeah. I was like, wow. I was expecting some sort of like
shakedown
criteria. And he was like, yes, send me an email. Yeah. And I did. And I was like, oh my God, because I have all my friends who are like a year younger than me in the game dev club. I can get them out of this class and like guarantee them an A basically. And we'll just make a fun video game together. And it's win-win. Like we will have something that's impressive to show genuinely. It's not that we're scamming anyone. Like we're there doing the work and they'll have something to show for it. And like, I will tell the professor that they're doing a great job and everyone's happy. And so we did it. We did that for 1 year and we made a GoldenEye inspired first person shooting game called Engineer Arena. It's the one other game I have that's out on Steam. Don't play it.
Now I have to buy it.
We gotta play it now.
And we got to organize a tournament now.
It is 4-player local split screen. So it doesn't have online support. The gimmick was like, the idea was, you would go around killing each other. You would get like money as you killed each other, or you could like destroy things in the environment to get money. And any time while you're out in the field, you could pull up a shop menu and like upgrade, like buy a new weapon or buy a wacky grenade type. But the gimmick was like if you had more expensive stuff on you, every time you had to reload, you had to pay for the ammo. And so like if you like you could triple down on super like expensive stuff, but like you could end up in a position where you literally can't afford to reload because you like bought this really expensive rocket launcher, but you missed and you now do not have the money to reload your rocket launcher. And now you're a sitting duck. That was the concept. And it was neat. We did a lot of really cool stuff with it. But we also learned why, reward, you learn why a bunch of people, some of whom it's their first time in the engine, don't go all the way for a full Steam release in a 9-month time frame. So we tried our best. We learned a lot in that project, but I'm proud of it, but I don't know that it's my best work. But we had a fun time making it and playing it. And so certainly, if everyone wants to play it, let me know what they think. It's also just, it doesn't work on any platform other than Windows, and it's got some jank. So just be aware, buyer beware. I bumped it down to $2. It used to be like $7. It was like $7 when it came out. Now I bumped it down to like $2. So that way I can do like sales that bring it down to $1. It's like that.
Yeah, listeners, if you're around, let me know. We'll put together a tournament.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, or the next time the three of us are in the same.
There you go. Do that. Steam Remote Play actually works really well with it. We've tried. We've done that. It's good. It's fun. I'm actually they made that feature like as we were finishing it. We were like, we can actually say you could play it online. But anyway, so I did that once, and then I go to the professor again. I'm like, anything stopping you from doing this again? I still have friends that were 2 years younger than me. He was like, you
send me another email.
He responds. He actually goes, "Yeah, you want 2 teams?" Because the students were put into teams of 5, and he was just like, "I have way more students than I do clients. Will you take 2 teams instead of 1?" I was like, "I mean, sure, I guess," thinking that would be like a multiplicative effect on the whatever. in practice, unfortunately, you ended up with like 4 people who are like I knew had some sauce because they had done it with before, and the remaining people, it was their first time working on games in a game engine at all. And so you had half the time was spent like teaching and learning. And so I wouldn't tell you that we got 10 people's worth of output during that year. And at first we thought we would do the same thing we did with engineering, which is just make something, whatever it is, at the end of the year, ship it and be done and move on. But we got to the end of the year and like we had on paper hit most of our goals. We had all 4 powers. You had like at least a little bit of levels that made you use all 4 powers, and then you could use them all together. And but we sort of looked at it and we were just like, it's not that fun right now, but the concept here could really be pushed into something, to put it simply, this could be a real video game. If only we sort of kind of took a step back and really like tried, like really like just see what it would take to do that.
There's something here.
Like this could be like a real big game if we really went the distance. But it would take some time. And so I basically went to all the students and was like, listen, like you're graduating now. You've gotten your A, you passed your class. You no longer have any obligation to this project. If when it eventually comes out, you will get some form of cut of what happens here due to your involvement in its creation, no matter what you decide to do right now. But if any of you are interested in continuing to work on this, like, let me know. And a few of them did. A few of them stayed on.
Very cool.
Of the 10 students, 2 of them stayed. And so 2 of them stayed. And then one other person who was like a graduate, an alumni like me, who kind of was helping me run stuff, he stayed. And then my lovely girlfriend Erin, who is now our art director, who's helped with a bunch of the 2D and 3D modeling and character design and everything. And the reason the game looks and has the soul it does is thanks to her. And so that's the team of 5. That's the team of 5 that makes Slime what it is. And so but of course the big thing is I was like, listen, I can't pay you guys, to be blunt. We can do a cut when the game comes out. We will absolutely, everyone will get their fair share. But in terms of like, I don't have the money to pay you to work on this game, and you need to get a job and like kind of get settled. And also, it's June 2020. It's the beginning of the global pandemic.
Perfect timing.
So maybe everyone should figure out their crap first. We'll plug away at this whenever it makes sense. But maybe we'll take a break for a little while here while everyone sorts their lives out as they graduate from college into a global pandemic.
A small business loan.
The money was free at the time. I should have.
Yeah.
You could have made it. Hindsight's 20/20. And during that time, so we were taking a break from Slime. I'm there. It's pandemic time. I'm just there on my own computer. I'm sort of plugging away at other stuff. And that's what actually led to the little divergence into the world of core games and doing all the stuff I did there, which actually led to me changing jobs, like basically during the pandemic. And for 3 years, getting to work in the professional games industry, which was super cool. And we could talk more about that in a minute. But let me quickly recap the rest of Slime for a second. We eventually finally get back to doing Slime stuff once everyone like is settled and has a job and whatever and has the mental space to work on Slime again. We polish up what we had and we sort of we refactor a little bit of it, and we scrounge together what I would describe a very early, we called it a movement demo, and it was just like the very basics of all the 4 powers and a little environment. Go nuts! Like here are some levels. Play it. That came out in 2021, and that was the first time we launched anything on Steam. That was our very first Steam demo, and very notably is not the one you guys played. That demo, I look at it now and it plays like crap, and it's brutal. But like we got like 50 people I think filled out our feedback form then, and people were really nice. People had some good feedback. We learned a lot. And then we were spinning our wheels because we didn't have good tooling to make levels. It was taking a really long time to make levels, but we realized like, oh God, at this pace, we will finish the game never. At this rate, just with how long it takes to make one level. And these are small levels that are supposed to be early game. We want to make bigger, crazier levels, and we just don't have the tooling for that. So we kind of had to start over. And I would say at that moment, we basically rebooted development from scratch. We kind of stepped all the way back and went like, okay, everything from like, some of the code survived, but like fundamentally it was just like everything from how we build levels, how we make cutscenes, how we do like objectives and like platforming, and all the ways all the powers work together. Every single thing, the camera, every single thing was kind of gutted and done from scratch. So I would say like 90% of the code of the game was like rewritten at that point. That took like well over a year. So like literally from 2022 to 2023 is like basically rebuild the whole game again, but right this time. It was basically what it felt like. And then finally we got into a games convention that's local to us in Pennsylvania called Too Many Games. And they were like, we showed up Slime. And we were like, they're like, our show is like late May, early June. Have a demo ready. And so we're like, oh my God. And so we used that as like a 4-month sprint to like prove out all our tools worked. And I'll get to show you guys some of those tools on camera here before we're done. If you have the time and you want to. But it made it way easier to kind of click and drag a level together and try it out and tweak it and modify it and all that. So we did all that. and it was a blast. And we got the demo together in like 4 months, and suddenly what took us, a year to make 4 levels, in 4 months we had made like 10 levels. And we were like, okay, this is definitely working way better. And like the levels themselves were better, and that ultimately became what you guys played, Slimes of the World.
Okay.
That demo, so that demo came out like late 24. Ultimately, it was when they released it to the public. It was summer 24, the early version of that. We played it at a show, and then we released it to the public in November, and then we brought it to MagFest also in early 24. Well, actually, no, so it released late 23. We went to MagFest beginning of 24. We went to Too Many Games again, middle of 24. And then we were like, okay, no more demo. Early 24, we sat down and we went, okay, it's time. We need to like make the final game now. Like no more BS, like no more sitting there in test rooms and making the movement. Make the video game now. And so like really, I would say that the true development on the content that will be in the final game started in like March 2024. So we're a year and a half into what I would say is like the real development.
What a journey leading up to this.
But the other big problem I was having was I worked in the AAA game, I wouldn't call it AAA, but like it was like a AA studio in professional games. And so all day as a remote worker, I would sit down in front of a screen, in front of a game engine, and do game work. And then the day would end, and I would stand up and walk 10 feet to the left and sit at a different desk in front of a different screen with a different game engine.
So get ready to do this again?
I couldn't, and truly, it floundered. No progress. I just didn't. It was just like it was like your job all day is like digging a hole, and then you come home and you're like, I think I'm gonna go outside and do some gardening. Like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
You're gonna go do something else. You're using the same muscles in the same way. You can't do that. And so really the best thing that ever happened to Slime's productivity was that I left and I went to a different job. Layoffs hit the company. I actually didn't get laid off, but I sort of saw the writing on the wall, and really it just made me sit down and have like a big fundamental think about like what I want to be doing and like where I want to be is in this industry. And I realized that the professional games industry like that is not for me. I had some quibbles with certain decisions being made internally, but like really all of that was secondary to the fundamental thought of just like, if it's not my studio that I made by making a game that somehow did really well, I have no interest in like working to make someone else's vision. I would so much rather, but it almost like because I cared so much, right? Like I had such strong opinions about the subject matter, it made it harder to do my job effectively, right? Good. You get a job, your job today is to implement, you have to reduce the movement speed and do this because we want the player session to be this long. And I'm like, but then it feels like shit and I hate it. And this is a hypothetical example. This isn't specifically like what happened, but it would just be like, I fundamentally disagree with the design decision that led to this ticket. And they're like, that's nice. Your job is to implement it, not to have this opinion.
Yeah, like, make the game worse.
And I just, subjectively, of course, but like I was just like, I don't agree with this, but like I don't have the authority to like push back in a meaningful way. And like, whereas, in boring technical day job land, hey, the client wants, this API, they give us this API and we need to subscribe to that to get this data over here. Cool. I have no opinions about that. Maybe I think it'd be better if it was this or that API, or maybe the data should look a little different. But like at the end of the day, I don't have such strong opinions. Yes, sir.
No heat or passion behind it.
Yeah,
it's really illuminating to hear someone's perspective that worked within kind of a bigger space instead of only.
I learned a lot doing
space.
it.
Yeah,
I learned a lot about the sort of the processes that go into it, the sort of considerations being made.
Gap in the process.
So I don't regret it.
Yeah.
But like. You can't have 100 cooks, At some point, the deciding power has to be with somebody. Yes. And you need to just have faith that at some point, the decider gets to decide, and everyone needs to get behind those decisions and make it to the best they can within their abilities. And I'm all about that. But like, at some point, it's really hard to disagree with the decider and to be like, well, that's just the way it goes. Sorry, Jake, I'm not sure if I cut you off if you had wanted to say something.
Oh, no, you're good.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're all good. I'm curious. So you said you can talk about the AA space you're in. So what was it?
Yeah, so they were Manticore Games, and when I joined, they were building what's called coregames.com. It is if I give you the simple pitch, it was Roblox built in the Unreal Engine. Notably, it was this before UEFN happened, which was Unreal Engine and Fortnite, which is where Unreal basically was like, wow, that's a good idea. What if we did that ourselves and then took the whole Fortnite audience and dumped it on it, which is unreasonably unfair to the company. And totally. Like, how are you supposed to compete with that? Because that was a bit brutal, but and it was really cool. Like I could have taken any one of you, and in 10 minutes, you could have built a 8v8 online first-person shooter where you dragged a map together and you had spawn points and gameplay logic, and you had snapped it all together, and then you could tune the FOV and the way the guns worked, and there was so much there. And click publish, it's done, and you're playing with 16 friends. And it's online, and they do all the matchmaking, and it's all online, and it all just worked. And I could have gotten any one of you to go from I have nothing to I've made an online 16-player first-person shooter. And as someone who spent over a year making a 4-player local first-person shooter, that was the delta there is crazy. And actually, me making engineering is kind of what got me into their closed beta, because I had made a mutual acquaintance with someone. I was friends with someone who had worked actually at Wave Dash Games on Icon's Combat Arena. I had been involved in that community, and that person then went on to work as the chief marketing officer of Manticore Games. And then she saw that I had made this little first-person shooter, was like, actually, do you want to get into this closed test of this thing? Because I bet you can make something even cooler in this engine we have. And she was just right. And so I got in there, and what happened was in the closed test period, I made me with my spherical saunter and my other marble games. I was like, ooh, they have what's called a physics sphere that replicates around. I wonder if I could just take the player camera, snap it to the ball, and make an online marble game. And I got it working. And so suddenly, and everyone was so blown away because it was so different from what everyone else was making. They kind of had, you know how in Roblox, like most of the time, you by default, like you're playing as your little guy and you run around as your little guy. And so, but there are some games that like you're something else entirely, and it's more impressive because they found a way to kind of hide your guy and then put something else there and make it seem like you're controlling that. I had done that with the sphere, and no one else had done anything like that yet. And so I ended up with a bunch of like thumbs ups. And so I was on the front page of the program, which is fine because it was a closed test period, and they just had a dedicated spot on their homepage for like most liked, and it was the like descending list of most liked games. And then in March of that same year, like a few months later, I'm still the top spot of most liked. They release like open beta. And they launch on like the Epic Game Store with like, whatever, and they get like a spot on IGN and like all these things.
Wow.
And I was on the front page. And I was getting more thumbs up, which meant I was even more on the front page. And so suddenly, imagine if YouTube had a dedicated spot on the homepage for the video with the most likes.
Right.
Do you think that video would get even more likes because it was always there and every single person on the whole site saw it every day?
Actually, just the exposure.
And so I ended up getting like, they hadn't really thought through discovery yet much. And so I ended up with just this unreasonable advantage and had just and it became all of the most played games on the platform were the stuff made by the company and then my Marvel game. It was crazy.
Cool.
And I even beat some of the stuff they had made because they had given me this unreasonable visibility, and people found the game fun, which of course helps. If the game had been crap, maybe they wouldn't have. But basically, I then made a bunch of other stuff that people also enjoyed, and I was able ultimately to spin that into a job opportunity there because I really believed in the tool. I loved the people I was working with. I, at the time, was kind of really burnt out on like boring enterprise software stuff. And I was just like, I could work in games. I love games. I've loved games forever. This is and they're full-time remote in a time where my job is about to bring me back in person, and it's a pandemic. And so all of this was super appealing, and so I jumped for the opportunity when I got it. I was really excited, and I get in, and to oversimplify, 4 months after I joined, they're like, we don't see any path to profitability with the tool, with the engine. We don't see a future doing that. We got to make something else. And while I can't get into all the details of what they can do, I can look up certain interviews of what they said, but they even describe essentially, they tried a bunch of ideas internally, chasing various, I'll call them fads throughout the 2022-2023 era.
I saw the MetaMask integration.
I'll leave that to you all to think about the sorts of things that they had us working on that I wasn't necessarily very huge on. But ultimately, at one point, it ultimately became like, we're going to make an MMO. We have a fraction of the people who made an MMO, who made any other MMO that's ever existed, and a fraction of the time those people had to make an MMO. But we have our engine that already exists, and so we're going to make it. We're going to do it. And we have Unreal Engine. What could possibly, until, a year and a half of that later, and multiple, is it top down? Is it first person? Is it third person? Is it on mobile? Is it for fancy gaming rigs and nothing else? Back and forth, and this and that and the other thing. And finally they were like, oh God, we're like not gonna, we don't have enough money in the tank because we're a startup and we raised money, and every 2 weeks we pay out payroll, and that means the gas in the tank is less. And so it's a ticking time bomb for us. We're not gonna make it.
Wow.
And so mid 2024 last year, they lay off a third of the company and announce a big pivot where they're going to basically salvage what they have, and they're going to make, use the combat systems they have and some of the levels we have and the weapons and the whatever we have built and a lot of the cool enemies we've made, and we're just going to make a 4-player action roguelite game. It's a looty game. It's got loot elements, sort of like your Borderlands and whatever, and it's about 4 people kind of going through. It's sort of Vampire Survivors-y with large waves of enemies and wacky abilities, sort of Risk of Rain-y, whatever. and that game is called Out of Time, and it released late September this year. It released like 2 weeks ago. It was announced in like late July, and it came out like 2 or 3 weeks ago. It is an Epic Game Store exclusive that released on the same day as Hades 2, and also the same week as Megabonk. And Megabonk is currently eating their lunch right now. Megabonk was like, what if we took Vampire Survivors and Risk of Rain 2 and made it like fun in 3D? Whereas they were like, what if we made it online and more about loot? And the gaming audience teams have chosen one of those approaches over the other.
It looks like Fortnite.
Yeah, that's what everyone says. It sure does. Yep. I don't know that I love the name, if I'm honest. I guess I could say that much. They told us that was going to be the name, and there was a lot of discussion on that. And it turns out naming shit's hard, you know. But I was just like, my problem is, you know, knock on wood, this doesn't happen. I hope that, you know, I wish them nothing but the best. But like, if one day the worst happens with, you see all these gaming studios, it happens if they don't cut it, they eventually shutter, they lay everyone off, their games go offline. And unfortunately, this game is always online. And so if their servers go down, it's done. Like, there's no, you know, save the games or that initiative of the year.
Stop killing games. Yeah.
Stop killing games would not allow for them to have released it in this way, because it's they're if they go under, it's done. But the problem is, you know, knock on wood, you hope it makes them enough money to keep the gas in the tank. But like, I don't know. I was really never like, you know, you're $100 million venture capital. You raised $100 million 5 years ago, you know, on the back of all the metaverse hype, back when like Facebook changed their name to Meta and all that, and you had a tool that was like, we're building the metaverse. Back when saying those words in that order just made investors, you know, dump money.
Oh God, we should have just lied back then. We should have the presence of mind to just tell some crazy lies.
It's the Metaverse Podcast.
I'm the mayor of the Metaverse, actually.
Buy more land in the Metaverse.
Yeah.
Oh, don't worry. I'm very familiar with all of that, and I won't get into the details. But I'm not a fan of any of it. You know, it's funny because like I was also I was a quantitative finance minor in school. So I was a computer science major, quantitative finance minor. That's like a very technical focus to finance.
Finance minor, is that Bitcoin?
And so you're right. So you had a lot of people that are like, Adam, you're a computer scientist, a programmer. You have some sci-tech experience, and you're this finance guy. You should love Bitcoin. I was like, no. It means that I can describe to you in 18 different angles why I hate cryptocurrency and all of these things. Because like I was just like, you know, it is a speculative asset that has an irrational hype cycle around it. And if you're willing to engage with what amounts to a really fancy slot machine, go nuts. But in terms of people posturing on it as the currency of the future, you know, when Taylor Swift goes and sells tickets for her concert, and like, you know, the site, you know, Ticketmaster goes down because everyone's trying, my credit card still works, right? Like Bitcoin, if Bitcoin's getting a lot of traffic in one moment, no one can use all of Bitcoin. It would be like, again, if everyone should use their credit card, and suddenly I'm at the gas station and they try to ring up my card, and suddenly it takes 18 minutes. Because a lot of other people in California are using their credit card right now. That's crazy. And so anyone who's like, Bitcoin or all these other crypto things are the future of currency, I'm just like, you don't know how like currency works or like why things are the way they are.
No. It's funny. I have a degree in math, and my emphasis was in number theory, and which is, you know,
relevant.
Yeah, and that's how my number theory teacher and advisor was very into the idea of cryptology. And well, he worked at the NSA as a
and there are a lot of valid use for cryptographic math functions. It's why we're able to conduct secure transactions on the internet. There's a lot of value there.
Oh yeah, I did. I was considering getting my master's. I was going to do my thesis on credit card security.
Now you're podcasting with the boys.
Master's degree. But he was all in on Bitcoin and all this, and he's like, you should look, you know, Jim, you're a math advisor, you shouldn't, not supposed to, you know, do that kind of thing, but you should look into it. And at the time, it was like, you know,
I will forever be haunted by my math teacher, and it was my programming teacher in high school. He was like, yeah, there's this thing called Bitcoin. I just sold like 6 of them, and it paid for my vacation. I made like $600.
Yeah, dude.
It was like 2011.
$600.
I know.
If I'm him, I lie awake at night. Or
he's haunted.
I truly, I'm haunted by my.
Damn.
Like, I would just be destitute outside the 7-Eleven with a brown paper bag leaking.
But the thing is, you have to understand, no rational person would have held through everything.
Yeah.
This is the thing, the only way to have made all of the gains from then to now would have been to be like, yeah, I bought 100 Bitcoins to do to buy a pizza on a silly gimmick thing in 2009, and then I lost the drive, flash drive.
Then I forgot about it. Yeah.
And then I found it. I was like, oh, right, I did that. What is that thing? Oh my God, it had Bitcoin. It had 100 Bitcoin. I have $10 million.
Yeah,
that's actually the one piece Oda just said. That's what the one piece
Yeah,
is.
that's right. That is the one
Yeah.
piece.
Bitcoin.
It's just a thumb drive
The
with
lost
Bitcoin.
hard drive with thousands of Bitcoin.
Oh my God, dude.
Satoshi Nakamoto. It wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't Blackbeard. It wasn't Goldie Roger. It was it was Satoshi Nakamoto.
Yeah, he knew they were
my
friends.
goodness.
Wow.
God. Okay, bringing this all the way back for a second. Slime. It's
All the way
thing
back
I
to
Yeah, let's talk about slime.
Yeah.
Sorry.
God, no, yeah. I'm trying to think. I want to keep through. As you can see, I could talk about all sorts of shit basically forever.
No, I love it.
So I guess let's see. So you guys have played through the demo that's public.
I haven't 100%.
And Slime
That's
Troidvania,
okay.
or I have.
Slovenia.
Yeah.
Yeah, Slovenia. It was a fun little demo I put together. I was so sick that I hadn't shipped anything, right? It's good God, we've been working on this forever. We shipped that demo late 2023. We updated it early 24. We've been working slowly but steadily on the final game. And really, I quit my job, got a boring day job in November of last year, and really spent a month or two getting really settled in that new job. And since like February this year, the progress we've made on the final game has really skyrocketed. We went from we went from if I need to like doodle something. Hold on. Actually, I'm gonna use my beloved MS Paint.
Pirate software impression.
Going full pirate software.
Oh, we'll do the full.
But you're an actual developer, so it's a bit different.
I will non-comment. No comment. You know what's funny? There's a lot of stuff he's done that I actually really like. There's a lot of stuff, or like a lot of stuff he's talked about that I really like. But if we're imitating him proper, I got to have the black, white brush, which is very important.
Just deepen your voice. Maybe smoke a pack real quick.
Yeah, let me talk down here real quick.
Yeah,
really close to the deep, rich mic. Let me get
okay. Gosh, where were we? So with slime, the way so you had the museum, right? And the way the museum worked was you sort of had this like fundamental hub area that broke off into the four spokes, right?
Yeah, like Spyro or Mario 64.
And you had earth, fire, air, water, and then you had a big key here, and you got two more levels here and here. Spatially, I hope it made sense that like earth and fire were on this side, and like water and air were on that side, and then they finally come together in the one final hallway, which you needed to get those two to get, and then you're at the final one, and that was where the rest of the game was, and that was the structure, right? And that's close to the structure we wanted for the final game, but the problem that introduced was you needed to be able to navigate this space, and that's where you had like the child slime that had no powers and it just kind of moved around. It was kind of boring because this game was not designed around like some base move set. Like the powers are really what it's all about. And so that's where we kind of made the decision kind of arbitrarily to just unlock the other powers for you in the hub as you started beating these worlds, both to tease the fact that they were going to start combining and just to make it less boring to navigate this space. In the final game, you actually just have a world map screen, right? You start on like a world map screen because we had this fundamental problem, which was like you have four main characters, right? You have Tough. I'm gonna get really terrible MS Paint doodles of them all, right? So you have Tough, right, who had the big funny eyebrows. He was the Earth slime. You had Ash, who had like the funny. No, I don't like that. had like the different size eyebrows. You had Winona, who was the girl, which you could tell because she had little
blue eyes.
Yeah. Cartoon classic.
And then you had Marsh, who was just kind of like your normal, happy, everyday guy, and that's the water slime. You had the four of them. And here's the problem. Like, each of them is the protagonist of their own little story, but none of them is any more important than any other. They all end up combining into, the hero slime generic, which becomes there's a reason we chose like the teal color, which is like the classic slime color that everyone thinks of as being the slime color. They get closer and closer to like the archetypical slime as they all combine. It's sort of just the thought process because that's like what people think of, right? And so maybe this guy's the protagonist, but really we were just like, the problem is that if we arbitrarily choose one of them for you to start on, or even just like the one that is like, if we make you pick, imagine like a character select, right? Whichever one of these you highlight first is the one that people will sort of like statistically people are going to choose that one first. And so like, how do you fix that? Like, I don't want people thinking of one of them as being any more important than the other. And so we kind of rattled our head against this problem for a long time. And we realized we're just going to take a page out of the Banjo-Kazooie book, and we are going to start the game on the villain. The first thing you see is the antagonist. And so most of the game is actually framed as him and his reaction to things, because the game is, so I don't know if you guys have seen the antagonist. He's not in Slimes of the World at all. He has a brief moment in the trailer. And in fact, I can show you something really cool. We're going to jump over to Unity here. If I go to
cool thing.
If I go to scenes, tests, cutscene tests, and then the cutscene test, this is not, this is fundamentally public info. The primary antagonist of the game, his name is Worldson, and he's a diabolical robot man. And he's just kind of going around the world trying to expand his robot enterprise. And essentially it's, he's dumping oil into the waters of the water slimes. And he's dumping, he's got a nuclear reactor dumping waste into the volcano.
Messaging.
He's causing storms and bad weather for the air slimes, and he's causing tremors and earthquakes in the earth thing. He's plundering the world's natural resources, and it's up to nature and the slimes to stop him and fight back and push back. Because we really believe in the fantasy, which is a world where the powerful people that are causing the climate to destroy can be stopped by the people they're affecting. Glorious fantasies like that.
Very optimistic.
Yeah,
extremely. So you saw that for a second, but allow me to quickly go into it again for a second. I'll maximize this so you can see it better. This guy's our antagonist, and this was our first ever fully 3D cutscene test, and I'm super excited about it. I can trigger it by pressing this button, and so you sort of see the camera come in. He slams his hands on the desk, and his eye twitches as he's looking at the thing, and he's pissed. And so what's going to basically happen is this guy, he comes out and he's like, why am I getting all these alerts? Why is my power output drastically lower than it was this morning? And one of his little grunt bots is basically to be like, we've been trying to get a hold of you all day, sir. The slimes, the hero slime of legend is on its way to our door right now, and they've destroyed half of our operations all around the globe. And he should be like, how did this happen? It's been 6 hours. What happened? How did this possibly happen? He goes, show me the tapes. And he goes over and he looks at something similar to sort of this. And we realize it's also really fun to explore this space in fully 3D, right? So also, I love him. We designed him to be built out of all these pieces we can just move around in the editor in real time, because we're not really professional rigged 3D animators. And so rather than that, Aaron's done an incredible job building. We designed him to basically be manipulated. So this drill, we just rotate it in the game engine. But it's kind of levitating him, and also I'm sure it all comes full circle. The Rayman inspiration is enormous here, right? Oh my God, he'll just have no limbs because that's easier. And he's just sort of implied either electromagnetically or by some other mechanism. He's sort of held together. He's this angry, really bombastic kind of carnival head guy. And of course, we designed him in 2021. And in the time since, a certain little show called The Amazing Digital Circus has come out. And also a certain little game called Deltarune Chapter 3 has come out. And both of these things have red, bombastic show hosty people. And so I worry we're going to get a little bit of flack for that. I have the proof that we designed this guy before either of those things were made original. But, at some point, the designs all come from somewhere, right? Each of those things is fundamentally designed, inspired by the same sorts of archetypes and stuff. The other bit of design inspiration that maybe some of you guys will clock is that, the eyes on the top hat is very Mario Party 7 coded, where the show host of Mario Party 7 has these eyes on this top hat sort of thing. And that was sort of the energy we were going for. But I love platforming on these CRTs is really fun. I just
they're all real.
Yeah. And so, but notice when you think about the structure of the game suddenly, and you think about how a surveillance room works, right? Each screen is showing a different camera feed. And so we realized, wait a minute, you've got 2 up here, which are right above 1 right here, which is right next to a big central one. And then on the other side, you've got 2 that lead to 1, which then feeds into the middle. So suddenly, you get a big intro where he comes in all angry and then sits down in his big chair to review the tapes. And then you, the player, are going to get these screens, and you're going to be able to and instead of framing it as you picking which character, you're picking which of his robotic enterprises you want to view the surveillance footage of. And the bit is that for kind of no logical reason, at the start, the only 4 you'll be able to pick are the top 4. And these are going to be wired down to this one with a black wire that's disconnected. And so you play this one, and you ultimately save the day, you beat the bad, you do the thing. And at the end, you destroy his creation, and you get a cutaway to him, and he's like, how did this? I cannot believe this. What are you talking about? That's how they destroyed it. And then again, sort of very gamey, you'll see a sort of spark fly down the wire that connects this TV to this one, and then the wire will light up yellow, but this TV won't be on. but the player can be like, wait, there's another wire connected here that goes here, which I think really naturally teaches players like, oh, wait, if I beat this one, that'll unlock this one. And so unlike the demo, where you had to beat all 4 of the first powers to get access to the 2 duos, that's not actually true in the final game. To play like the desert world, where you get fire and earth, you only need to have beaten fire and earth. So someone could theoretically beat all of desert and never have touched the beginning of water. We want you to be able to do that in any order you want. And I expect a lot of players will probably kind of go across the top row and then down. But I think there's just as many players that are gonna be like, wait, no, I want to see what happens next over here. And like what will happen next is like, first sort of, so, once you find what I also love about this is it solves a weird conundrum we had also, which is like, if it's just sort of character selecting like a world map, once these 2 slimes have met up down here in the desert, why can't I then go back? Why can't I backtrack Metroidvania style and use both powers back here? Like, it would make logical sense. They combined and then they went back. And no. He's just watching an older tape. The physical slimes never went back there. He's just looking at an older tape. So that solves that problem in a way that I think is pretty diegetic and natural.
Yeah, I was about to say it's very diegetic design. Very cool.
And so this has been our way to design through the sequence of weird problems we created for ourselves with this weird structure of a game. And it's all very non-standard. But like I think that's what makes the game different, right? It doesn't feel like it's just we grab from all of our inspirations, all the games we love. It's like it's a little bit Banjo-Kazooie, it's a little bit Spyro, it's a little bit Rayman, it's a little bit and it's we're not beholden to any one of them. Where we just want to make the best game we can with a certain core set of goals, right? It's like we want a game about blorpy slimes with different elemental powers. And then they combine together over time, and then everything else kind of has flowed naturally from those core principles. As this has been over here, it's fun to platform around here. I can replay that cutscene. I can jump over him. He has no collision,
like
so I can kind of float through him.
A boundary break run by the actual developer.
Yeah. I think I put a bunch of other props in the background that I really like. I can get your guys' feedback on a thing, actually. So 1 second. Ready? We're going to look at some. So now that you know that the entire game is framed as the main antagonist watching the proceedings through his CRT TV surveillance footage. Also, it implies that the camera that you control is like some little itty bitty drone of his that he's controlling, or like that was like autonomously whatever. Like that's how you're seeing everything, which I like. But it now might make a little more sense that when you press the pause button, you get a CRT pause because he has paused the videotape. And so you get the pause button at the top left, and you get your current save file playtime in the top right, is what that is. And Aaron did this incredible job on this 2D remote, where it's like we realized we wanted to style the pause menu a little more creatively, and so the pause menu is now this TV remote, right?
Small details are so good.
And so we have a settings menu, which also was styled to kind of look like the CRT, like, if you go into the settings menu of a CRT, you want to increase the contrast.
The menu
it looks kind of like that. But, it's a little more bouncy and cartoony with an emphasis on legibility. So they've got drop shadow or like they've got outlines and stuff. But like we're using that sort of font for everything. Anyway, the thing I actually wanted your opinion on, if I go return to world map.
Let's see the secret. Let's see the exclusive.
So what's funny is this is a placeholder world map. You'll recognize most of these NPCs here. This is not the final world map. This has been like a testing world map for me to just sort of jump around. But the thing I wanted to ask you guys is like the problem I've had is we put our trailer out, right? We did a big new trailer finally that we had a little bit to show because I was getting all this ready before I went to PAX. I wanted there to be like an up-to-date trailer that was a little more indicative of what's going to be the final game than this ancient footage we had from Signs of the World. And I did it. And I posted it to Twitter and to Blue Sky. On Twitter, I got ratioed. And I think I told you guys about this because it had happened like 2 days before we met.
Retro slop or whatever.
I got 64 slop. Right. Called.
Yeah.
Because, especially, and so it was a great learning. I think the first few shots of the trailer weren't the best things we had to show. And so I learned a lot, and we will make a new trailer and we will cut it way differently. And I think it'll be awesome. But, also, it also did inspire me to really, because people were just like, it doesn't look chunky enough to some people. And I was like, well, what can we do about that? And so let me first I'll bring you all the way out to HD remaster with none of our settings. And sort of this is the crispest it can look, right? Because some people, they're just like, I don't want filters. I don't want whatever. I want a modern game with crisp visuals. And that's what they want. And so we actually even let you turn on anti-aliasing. You can crank that up, and shadows you can have, which, what's funny is we've actually started designing all of our levels to look good with literally no real-time shadows because the N64 couldn't do real-time shadows. It was all about the color and the grading and the textures of the objects used. You had vertex color you could bake, and I won't bore you with all that right now. So this is our like full this is the closest to like a professionally or like a modern game. It can feel like kind of cartoony, real time. And a lot of people, there's like, this is how I want to play. I want to be able to see. I don't want to feel like I need my glasses. It's a modern game. I should be able to look at it this way. But then people look at this and go, why the hell is it called Slime 64? That's a 1024 by 1024 texture with anti-aliasing and real-time shadows. Are you stupid? Like, this is the challenge. It's like, okay, sure. We're trying to make everyone happy here, which is hard. And maybe it's a fool's errand. And so I'm going to be renaming these. But I basically have two different presets. There's basically PlayStation-ish and then N64-ish. I'll show you PlayStation-ish first, which actually does this. So you've got crispy. Notice also, see the player character? See, you can see the sort of the angly lines now around him. I actually dynamically swap the model of the player character to a much lower poly one. Whereas in HD, he's like a perfect sphere. Yeah. Right? He's like a perfect sphere. We actually swap out. And I wrote it so that I can actually do that to other models if we deem it necessary. I can make like lower poly versions. So he's chunkier, but all the same blorping applies. And I think that helps too. And so this has what's called dithered color. And I don't know how well this is coming across on Zoom, right? But the dithering is something that was more common on the PlayStation. And it was just a way where you had a limited color depth. But you could kind of get more out of it by doing by dithering that, so you sort of the human eye would blur it, and you combine that with the fuzziness of CRT TVs, and it really felt quite smooth.
Gotta fake it.
And so we have dithered color and crisp visuals. We then also, you can optionally on CRT display, you could do just scan lines. You want to get those scan lines in there, or you can even do sort of the full frame, right? Which actually brings in a little frame. Then you can turn on the VHS effects, which I think sell it. VHS effect adds a little bit of that chromatic aberration. Is a really advanced plugin that simulates sort of the effect of like a degraded tape. I removed a lot of like the noisiness, but everything else, I think it actually really sells the effect.
I think the kind of.
So there's this look, and then there's the more N64 one where you actually remove the dithered color, but it's a little blurrier. And this suddenly
like Vaseline.
It's a smidgen. It's a very loose blur effect combined with the same sort of crunchiness, and then the VHS effect on top of the CRT scan line. And I think I might remove the frame. I think this is what I will, if the player doesn't touch anything and they go with my defaults, I think this is the default I'm going to give them, actually, because I think this is the closest to authentic we have, where you look at a frame of this sort of out of context and it feels very N64 to me. And if we're going by our namesake, that's what. But basically, my problem or my question is like, if at some point I have to have one configuration of these settings when I record video for social media, I got to pick one. Which one do I pick, right? Which one is good?
No
poly and
I think I'm going to start doing this one, and we'll see how it performs. And if people don't like it, the other little life hack is because a lot of people view stuff on social media on their phones. This view, it's actually really hard to see the slime. He's really tiny on screen. So I actually there's a field of view slider now, so I can crank that stuff down. And you can actually see, for gameplay, you feel kind of blind right now because you really can't see what you're trying. This is what it's like to play Banjo-Kazooie, by the way, where it's like you can't see it. Part of the reason those are hard is just because the field of view is so low. Yeah, you can't see. But I think for social media, this is going to be way better, just because. And I'll give you guys a little sneak peek. The Discord and a few places on social media have already seen a little bit of screenshots of this, but I can show you guys a little bit of what this is like as we keep talking here.
Holy shit!
True. Let me first. I'm going to put the field of view back to the default. So this is Lavalia, home of the fire slimes. And we wanted them to live in a volcano, right? But we didn't want it to be like a dreary place. Like so often, like Death Mountain and volcanoes are these evil places. But these are slimes. These are fire slimes. Like they can take it. They can handle it. They're like the Goron. They want to be here. So like, how can we make that an interesting place? And so the angle we went with, and again, all the credit to this belongs to Aaron, who really drove the creativity here, was sort of like a night market craftsman vibe. So they're blacksmiths and glass blowers, and they're using the heat of the volcano and the lava to kind of do different things. We also had a really wacky design problem here, which was most players intuitively think lava is dangerous. Diegetically, one would think that lava slimes or like fire slimes should be able to like swim in lava, right? Like that's fine. Like why would they live to something so dangerous to them? We were not able to square this circle. And so our justification in universe is normally elder slimes can go in lava, no problem. But right now, the main bad guy is dumping toxic sludge into the lava, which has made it dangerous for now, which is why it's a kill plane. And this is really the only lava in the game, and so we don't have to have this problem anywhere else. And so this lava is dangerous under some other circumstances. Wouldn't, and so we've squared the circle. The lava is dangerous like you think it is, but, diegetically, other times maybe it wouldn't be. And just because the notion of having some lava be swimmable and other lava not be swimmable, it was painful. We couldn't figure it out. So we went with the gamey answer and just, This town is instead sort of built around them exploring. But so you've got all these like glass sculptures. Right now they're like this translucent, and of course he fits, therefore he sits, which is fun.
It's very good.
The fun of having like a very blorpy character. You have the glass blower over here. My favorite. You've got these very glowy. We're cheating a little bit. We're using some bloom, and of course, again, the purists will tell me they didn't have bloom on the N64. They couldn't do screen space bloom post process. And I'm like, right, but they could lovingly and bespokedly, with the most talented artists in the world at the time, hand model and texture every polygon on screen and bake that lighting information in. We don't have that capability. We have different limitations, right? We are working within a different set of limitations than they were. We have better processing power, but we have less labor, but better tools. And so I think the spirit of working within your limitations is how you can pay homage to that style, that era of gaming, while not, even if it means not necessarily being authentic to all the technical. There are more triangles on this screen than there are in the entirety of Mario 64, right? And yet, I think it's not unreasonable to say that it still feels very much in the style of those old games,
Very evocative. Yeah.
Reasonable people will disagree. It's on me as the person making the trailer to do our absolute best to sell it. And some people will just be like, it doesn't. I don't think it meets the vibe. And some people, I don't know, will be able to please.
I think you should just rent out a boxing ring at MagFest, and for everyone who's like, "This isn't real N64," you should be like, "Come follow me. Put on the gloves. Let's talk about it over here." I think that would be the best way to go at this point, because the people who are going to complain about authenticity now with a new game not being made, because then what? You have to have it play on N64 hardware. You have to have it actually on a CD-ROM playing on the PlayStation. Who cares what these morons frankly think? I think that it fits the aesthetic. I think that it is exactly the kind of thing I want to play. You already know for a fact I enjoy playing it, and it's more than anything else, a fun game, which is
that was our main focus.
Disgustingly rare in this day and age. So I think that's really the only thing that really and truly matters.
Speaking of fun, I was just sort of screwing around as one does, exploring this little world. So we have these cannon flowers now, which are just really fun. They're they launch you. They're very simple. But I was doing this and I was like, it'd be fun if I landed on one of these booth tops, and I was like, oh, these should be like the umbrellas in Mario Sunshine.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I was like, wait a minute, I have free will. It's my game. I can do whatever I want. And so you just they bounce you. I don't know.
That is the one thing. You know what? I will say, if the purists were you can't bounce on the camp yet, so you know what? You guys are on something.
You're cooking with that one. That's good feedback.
I would agree with them on that one.
Yeah, and so, it's been fun. So we've been making all these different spaces, and we've really been getting together. So in terms of where we are now in the final game, right, or in terms of progress made on the final game, and this is where I go back to my helpful MS Paint diagram, right? And so I will stop this for now. Back to MS Paint, right? We have, good God, now I'll use the CRTs now that you guys have seen sort of what that's like, right? So you have the main CRT here in the middle, which is the final one. You have the two side ones for the desert and the jungle. Then you have earth, fire, air, water, right? And so each of these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's actually an 8th one for after you finish this one, but I won't. So I'll let that one be a surprise. Each of these gets a town, right? They all get a pirate software time. They each get a town. They each get at least one, main level, one main level, mm-hmm. And then a bunch of optional, ideally, challenges, which are either within that level.
The important thing.
Challenge, God. Yeah, you get the town level. Yeah, challenges. More is better, right? More is more at some point. Yeah, ideally, you don't want people to be miserable seeking them all out, but more content feels good. And then they each have some sort of final gauntlet, or at least for the first 4, they all have what I'm going to call it a boss. That's going to be kind of, they each have a boss. Really, I'm going to call it a set piece, because I'm sure you all noticed there's no enemies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's actually not true for the final game. We do have enemies. You saw that I now have the power to knock you back. I jumped on those little glass things and you actually get hurt, and you get you blink and you kind of lose control. But we are doing, I don't know if any of you have played Cavern of Dreams, but we're doing a system very similar to that one.
Yeah.
That's another
little dragon game.
Yes, it is. In my opinion, it has nailed the authentic N64 aesthetic as an indie game better than anyone else has done it thus far. Them and Corn Kids 64 are the two that have really nailed it. Super Regalia is up there as well. But in terms of games. in terms of authenticity, specifically to the N64 and animation and art style and game design and visual design, those are the two that I think have nailed it better than any other. And Cavern of Dreams is sort of like us. It's really like a surrealist dream exploration game and platformer and collectathon, where it's got like a lot of dream logic, really evocative stuff. I love it. And combat, once again, really isn't the focus. And so, he made the decision, I think quite reasonably, you can get knocked back, you get hurt. And if you're holding something, you drop it, but like you have no health. You can get hit as many times as you want. It's sort of that Wario Land or Pizza Tower thing where like getting knocked back is the punishment. That's it. There's no, oh my God, I have 1 health left and 97 notes in Rusty Bucket Bay. If I get hit again, they're going to send me to the start and take all my collectibles away. That's Dark Souls emotions. I don't want to give you Dark Souls emotions. Getting back to like, the different emotions I want to give you in the game. I want you to ultimately, I want to get you in the flow state. I want you going from thing to thing to thing. And I want you to be like, oh my God, what's next? Oh my God, that's next. And like, it's really inspired after what I love. I have a weird take. Banjo-Kazooie, my favorite level is Treasure Trove Cove. Not because I even love the level, but I think it's the perfect length for a 3D collectathon platformer. In like 15 minutes, an experienced player can go in and kind of just, even if they're not like a speedrunner type, but just kind of organically playing the level, but they're competent. 15 minutes, top to bottom, 100% it. Move on. It doesn't understay its welcome. It explores all of its concepts perfectly. A little bit of swimming, but it introduces flying, bunch of slamming, some enemy encounters, some exploration, and then it's done, and then moves on. You get to Clanker's Cavern, and the water gameplay kind of slows down a little bit, and then from there the levels get bigger, and they get bigger, and they get bigger, which is good. But you start spending the amount of time spent in each level, I think, grows dramatically. And especially when you pair that with the note score system, and when you die, you lose all your notes, and you suddenly dying in Treasure Trove Cove, you lost 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Dying in winter of Click Clock Wood, and you have 65 notes. That is, you feel that that hurts.
Yeah, that's hell.
Frustration. Yeah.
And so I would rather the game have 30 levels that are all Treasure Trove Cove length than 10 levels that are all, Banjo-Kazooie, Click Clock Wood, or Banjo-Tooie,
anything in Banjo-Tooie,
like Pterodactyl Land length,
yes,
or size or scope. I would so much rather you get a level, understand the concept, explore what it has to show you, and on to the next. Especially for indie games, we have to be thrifty. And so I would rather just like the bare minimum that leaves you feeling satisfied, but also like, damn, I want more. And there's more in the game. There's optional challenges to find, other levels to play, but on to the next. And so that's where the early levels, we want you to know the power, and we want you to then move on. And so these early levels, actually, counterintuitively, they have short levels because, at some point you understand how to hold right trigger and aim water, right? You've learned it. You're good. Let's move on. If you really love it, there's some optional stuff to find. You can go do that. But like in terms of critical gameplay paths, you can leave now. You're good. You got it. And so, we've been exploring a lot of that, and I think we've landed in a good place for what we love in games.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it seems like, with the whole project in general, I don't know if we've mentioned this already on the show, but I think it wears its inspirations proudly on its sleeve, and it's so clear when playing it that it's made by a team of people who love the genre. Yeah, I think perhaps from a distance, without having playing it, people are like easy to dismiss it, which I think is foolish. But people are hard to please. But when you play the game and when you're experiencing it, it's so clear that there is a love for a genre, and you're expressing that, like all these lessons learned from years as a player, and then your experience as a developer now.
The passion of the gamer.
It really comes through, and you guys are doing a good job there.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I guess the one fun thing, I know we're here. I don't know what your guys' time frame is like, what availability you got. I got probably another half hour in me at most, just only because midnight East Coast stuff.
Right.
No worries.
But I'm a night owl, so it's not bothering me, and I'm having fun. What I wanted to ask you guys is, did you want to pick a power? And if we wanted to just jam a level here on the show with you guys, you just tell me what to click and what to do, and we just try to build it. You can see what that process is like for someone like me building stuff.
Let's make something with a rock. Let's make a gigantic drop, and you try and aim into a target or like a hole or something. Do you have anything like that?
Oh, very inspired idea already. I love it.
All right, so let's start from scratch then. All right, so
it's good. You want to drop from really high, go a crazy ass ramp, and just try and aim for a very specific target.
You may find you're a little disappointed in the way our rock physics work at sort of high momentums, but we'll give it a try. We'll see. Only because we kind of had to make a choice. Is the rock a marble that is at the mercy of physics, or is it a rolling platformer character that gives good control to you, the player? There's a very subtle but important distinction there. And there are games that do both, right? Think about the difference between like, you know, that one level in Mario Galaxy where it's the music speeds up and slows down and you tilt the course and it's like kind of crazy and hard to control because the ball goes nuts. Whereas I think in Galaxy 2, they introduced like Rock Mario who rolls, or like the Goron in Majora's Mask. The Goron builds up speed, but you can kind of stop pretty quickly. Generally, right? You can steer and you can move. There's some momentum to it, but it's whatever. But like, you know, the Goron ultimately is player controlled. Whereas like in Marble Blast Ultra, if I launch you at Mach 10, you, the player, you're almost not playing the game anymore. Like you get to see what happens to the physics now.
Control, yeah.
And so with the Rock, we have had to make sort of compromises to its physics and momentum, which instead make it much more enjoyable to use as a player in the scope of the levels that you see, and even more importantly, in combination with the other powers. Right? We have to make a lot of compromises that might make Earth itself alone boring or less interesting, but those are done as compromises to make the combo work better. That said, let's give it a shot. Let's see what happens, right? So the way this starts is we have a template level that sort of just gives you a few simple things. I can explain everything you're seeing here. First off, there's the HUD. So let's just hide that. And then you see this weird black sort of void, you know, weird triangles. That is a visualizer of a death plane, which if I click, it goes red.
Oh, shit.
And so this is a death plane that if the player touches this, they fall infinitely and they respawn, right? That kills you. I'm sure you're familiar with death planes. It's a very common concept in games.
Oh, yeah. Sonic Adventure 2, you go fast enough, you just clip right through it. It's awesome.
Oh, yeah. At some point, if on one frame the player is above it and the next frame they're below it, they didn't touch it. Therefore, it doesn't
exactly.
Which is crazy. And we also have, there are actually different ways around that. For the player, we use something called continuous sort of interpolation, where you couldn't get away with that, because even if you move a large distance in one frame, it'll calculate the traversal from one frame to the next, as opposed to there's internally and extrapolate. I believe extrapolate is where you just kind of, you're here and now you're here and we just move on. The interpolate makes sure you can't do things like clip through walls at high speeds, which for your main it's more expensive from the physics engine's perspective, but it's better for the player experience. So we're here. We have the template level. So we're going to control shift S to save the scene. We go to scenes. I'm going to throw it under tests for now. Call it video ditch.
Wow.
Hey, that's us. We're officially in the game, which means we get a piece of the pie.
The one other thing I also wanted to do, I didn't get a chance to get it super set up. We have a little NPC creator, and I also was wondering if you guys wanted to make little NPC slimes that I could throw in a town somewhere.
Yes, we'd love
So each of you will have to tell me.
Yes, of course. Jake doesn't. He told me he doesn't.
So we'll get a chance to do that too, but we'll try. I wanted to show you sort of what it's like, what tools we have, and sort of what decisions we had to make to start building tools and all. So we're here. The problem is by default, you're the hero slime, actually. So the first thing I have to do is I have to tell it, hey, by the way, you only have Earth, right? So I go down to my player movement, and I probably could have made this cleaner, but allowed powers. First, we tell it nothing, which is the museum slime that's really unused now, and then rock. And so now you have rock. And so if I hit play right now, you will see that we have a very simple level. All I do is I drag what we call the player container in. The player container has the player and the camera and the heads-up display and everything else necessary to run the game. By putting that player container into any level, you've turned it into a Slime 64 level, essentially, is how we have it set up. And so here we are. Now we're tough. A bunch of systems kick in on scene load that know, okay, only rock is allowed. Use these eyes and these eyebrows and change the thing to this color, right? All that happens sort of instantly behind that little black screen that happens, which fades in, and now you're him. And so obviously we can roll around. It's hard to convey over the stream, but like look as I sort of try to change direction here. I feel it's a little more responsive than it what perhaps was in the demo. If I'm like rolling up, I can kind of more quickly stop myself. It's a little faster than it was
more like Super Monkey Ball off the rails.
Yes,
we wanted a little control.
That's why I liked it.
Which I did.
We wanted to
the
find the right balance. We wanted to find the right balance where it's still, it's not just instantly, 1-to-1. It still feels ultimately like a boulder, but there's a little more like, ultimately we were seeing scenarios where the player made like what we believe to be the right choice. They saw they were about to careen off an edge and they pulled hard left, but just the physics were such that they hadn't done it soon enough and they fell off. And at some point, you can make the argument skill issue over and over again, right? It's very easy to follow.
That's what I would say.
Developer.
Yeah.
But especially if you're a game where on the core critical path, you want basically anyone to be able to have a good time. But I can hide optional content. It just means that as a level designer for the harder stuff, I just need to I can make thinner platforms for you with harder turns.
Difficulty
once again. And so, and I can make a level that's physically hard to get to, which instantly filters a lot of people where they go, oh, I can't even get up there. I don't know how I would do that. So I'm not going to do it. And then, but someone like you guys who's like, oh, duh, you just go up here and like drift into this thing and hit it at an angle that launches you upwards into a mushroom bounce pad, into a whatever, ride this thin rail over to here and it jump sideways. And then you hit the portal. Duh, it's easy. First try. And then behind that portal, it can be hard because the only people who got here proved that they know how to use this, right? So you can very organically sort of sneak difficulty in ways that like won't hurt the average player experience. But so here we are in a lovely void of nothing. So the first thing you said is that you wanted to start high up and you wanted to fall down.
Yeah.
So let me introduce you to a few cool tools. This thing we have is called the procedural cylinder. It's really handy. It is a shape that gets dynamically generated. And I have some parameters like how much to bevel it by, so you can make it more round or like sharper. And we have the number, and right now it's like a 10-sided shape. I can make it more and more round as it approaches a circle, or I can make it really chunky like a hexagon, right? And so these are super handy to sort of block out or build quick levels. We have a similar thing for cubes specifically. And then we have splines, and we'll get to splines. But first, let's do this. I'll leave it at 12, and we'll do that. And then we're going to just make another one by duplicating it. And what we're going to do is we're going to start you on almost like a diving board sort of setup up here. That's where we'll start. This is scale 90, 90, 90. So let's make this next one 50, 50, or 10 is the vertical. But then we're going to make this go up. And literally you see that it doesn't distort at all. It just sort of goes taller. So we'll pull this back here. And if I were to start the game right now, the player would be trapped in the collision and weird things would happen. So we have to pull him out. We're going to save him. So yoink. And now you can see we start up there. There you go. We're up here now. And so you had mentioned let me guess, you want like a ramp, right? Like you exactly, want to like jump down, do a ramp, cool, and then get launched.
Like, Jackass, Bam Margera,
just a mega ramp,
yeah. Crash directly into a cool target, big fireworks, something real quick.
Throw it together in 10 minutes. What's the problem?
Yeah.
So we'll do something like this, right? And so the next thing I'm going to show you to do a ramp, you're like, oh, well, what if I wanted to go like left and right and then up? Or I wanted to like, how would I do that? All of this has to do with splines. Your option one is you bespokedly model every platform in your game by going into Blender and lovingly placing every triangle one at a time. And then you could be there forever. Or you could do cool procedural things. And so what we have is something called the path spline. And really all of this was like ultimately trying to make it basically, I described it as we want it to be 1 degree harder than it is to make a Mario Maker level to make one of our levels. It can be harder. We know we're not Nintendo making a user experience level editor on a Wii U, but like ultimately it needs to not be like, if I know I want a scoop that goes like this, I need to be able to type something in, pull it out, and make it do that. Like, I need to not have to spend 30 minutes to make one ramp. And then it needs to be easy also to modify that ramp if I realize I don't like it or if I want to change something about it. And so splines let us do that. So what I can do now is I can just start placing points. And so we're going to put one like here, and keep the faith because we're going to just do something here. So we're going to take these two and we're going to pull them out. And instantly you see this, you see instantly that's what starts happening.
I can see my vision.
What here I will do, tell me what your elf eyes see. You mentioned a ramp, right? And so then we pull this one forward.
And Jesus wept. Incredible.
and we pull this down a little bit, and then this can kind of go up. And maybe this should go even more starkly vertical. Exactly. Oh, but like I don't like the curve here. So let me now point after selected. Now we have another point. I can continue to manipulate this thing. And we're only doing vertical, but like this supports me going this way. I could make this go thinner right here. Wow. I can just, all of this is so easy and quick. And so maybe you're like, well, I also don't really like the sort of material. This is some weird gray, ugly test material. We have a whole library of assets, materials, Slime 64 materials. Hey, look, grass and ground. Or we have, stone.
You got a beautiful purple amethyst, perhaps?
We have something like that, actually.
Something purple for Nick.
Yeah.
Assets, scenes, and then if we go to the Wendigo floating islands, you'll have to forgive me. This might not be purple because I'm colorblind, but it's close.
What was it closest?
Here's this. Ignore the fact that there you go.
How's
that?
That's unquestionably purple.
Yeah.
Excellent. I would have told you it was blue, but that's good. I love to be wrong. So this is a bit of a sneak peek then of the Wind Town of what it looks like, because this is the ground we use there. So there you go. So
nice.
The Wind Town is looking very Spyro. I'm really delighted by it.
Excellent.
I can sneak that. So if you think about this for a second, you're here. The player would jump forward, and then they would kind of miss this, right? Like I don't think they can even see it really. So what we can do is we can select all points. We can kind of pull it forward a little bit, and maybe we'll bring this back a little. And maybe we'll once again select them all and pull it up a little bit. You start to get a sense for like what it's like. What I'll also do is I'll give this a different material, right? Just something else. Not that one. Wood planks. That makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Somehow they start morphing a little weird. So the way this works, right? You'll notice like the material isn't stretching as I make things bigger. It's just sort of like wrapping around it. These are called triplanar materials. Essentially what they are doing, rather than matching, like scaling themselves to the particular scale of the object, they are sort of mapped on from the world's perspective, which generally means that they will stay the fixed density kind of no matter how big or small it is. If you do it without that, you end up, if for example, if I go to materials, Slime 64 materials, nope, no non-triplanar, right? I go to something like this, you'll notice, we'll see if this even like works. Come on. Oh, it hates that. Oh, wait, I know why. One sec. There you go. So like it like completely broke, right? Like it's just not really mapping right. We can control the density of these things. So you can see here, if I change the tiling, it gets denser or it gets less dense, right? And so we can kind of control that on a per material basis to get the sort of vibe we think is best. Anyway, there's many tools and tips and tricks of the trade here. So this is going to be hard to navigate. Let's just try it. You know, there's really no substitute for just
behind the curtain.
There's really no substitute.
Yeah, just playable right out of the box too. Nice.
So you just hit the play button and now we're here. We're running. Yeah. And if I wanted to make a change, I just hit stop and run it. Ooh, so it's very overexposed right now, is what it feels like. And so I wonder if that's just a lighting setting. So really quickly, what I'm just going to do here is I can go to lighting environment. And you see how I feel like this is really bright. I can actually just bring this down.
Oh, it's even more purple. Excellent.
Sort of bring
Wonderful,
it. We can underexpose it a bit so that our post process can kind of get it to the right exposure level. And we can tune this on a per level basis. And the goal is to get each one to kind of match the mood we're going for. You'll notice that the slime himself feels a bit darker because normally we don't go this dark, but like it's fine. Anyway, we'll worry about it later. These are the sorts of things we can tune later. I could also like make the material itself darker, then crank the lighting back up to get it all even. But anyway, so you'll see here, if we just sort of roll and go, we completely overshoot the mark to do that. But hey, skill issue. That's what we said, right? So now what we're going to try is we're going to jump, hit this, slam down.
Wow.
But you'll see I had to use my drift here to sort of, and so obviously that curve is throwing a wrench into proceedings here. You want the feeling of building up speed here. So let me try. I'll bring this back to center for now. And what I will also do is actually just bring this way, so it's effectively you can't miss it, right? If you just hold forward and you jump, you hit it. But we still want it to feel steep. So maybe this will go a little more like this.
Yes.
And we'll see what happens here. Again, I do think you'll be a little disappointed that our physics don't really allow for you to build up just so much speed.
I can't imagine being disappointed at this moment, no matter what happens. The fact that my words are now a game in 2 seconds.
So here we go.
Is more than I could have ever asked for. Yes.
And so if we really wanted to get that sense of launching, what I would recommend then is I have these cannons that you saw in the fire world, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the cannon flower.
I can bring out a cannon flower and we can just scale it up real big.
Make it huge. Yes.
And let's do my favorite thing in all of game dev, which is just make numbers really big to see what happens.
Yeah, max it out. Let's do it. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Something really weird is happening. This is a bug that I think they introduced literally in the most recent Unity engine update. That's awesome. Thank you, Unity. Very cool. I literally updated engine versions like yesterday, and it's now being weird. I have to reload the scene. Cool. Anyway, we're back now. So three. Tell me a number from 20 to 500.
500.
All right. That's what we're talking about here. I'm not going to spoil things, but we're just going to kind of.
Yes. Perfect.
We're just going to sort of attempt or even ramp it up a little bit, really just try to catch
a texture of Nick's face and just put it on that thing. Open mouth launch.
If you Discord me a random PNG that is family friendly, I can get it on there. It's really easy. I can do it. It's just got to be a PNG. So you see my large object in the distance here. So let's hit our giant. Let's see our giant launcher here, and let's just 500.
Oh fucking A.
I still underestimated it. Oh no, I got it.
Beautiful.
What happened there was that my air friction sort of kicked in and pulled back on the player. You get met with like an equal opposite reaction sort of deal. Oh, and that was funny. The dip actually dipped below the death plane. So even though I was on solid ground, I died because I touched the death plane. These are the sorts of things you start to have to think about. Whoops. Another fun thing you can do for those of you who did 100% the demo, you remember that you unlock hero mode.
Yeah.
And hero mode gives you a little crown, and it gives you the power to use all the powers everywhere. That weird flashing is just an editor ephemera, for the record. It's what it's doing there is it's dynamically recalculating a shader. You know how some games in the modern era like hit you with that crazy long compiling shaders screen, where they then sit there and do that. Unity does that sort of in real time, when it deploys its version to you, it tries its best to kind of do that ahead of time, so that way you just get it. They're pre-compiled. But the problem is, as games get bigger, they for reasons effectively can't do that, so they end up having to do it, the hard way. They make you do it in real time on your machine. And it's like the result of the compilation is different on a per GPU basis. So they can't just like distribute it to you already done. And also they would like triple the file size. So they don't. But, in Unity, when we're doing simple shit, we're not doing crazy whatevers. We don't have to do all that. Anyway, so now let's just use the air power and the water power at Mach 10 and preserve some of that speed and sort of keep it going.
That's kind of sick.
And so it won't surprise you to know why we perhaps don't use numbers this big normally. But there's no rules, nothing stopping you from just making the number real big and see what happens.
For this instance, it's worth it to see it in action. Even if it would never
I felt like I was flying for a second right there. Beautiful stuff.
We're not going to make it here. All right. Oh. But yeah, so that's the nature of what it's like to just sort of start throwing things together. And you see how quickly I was able to do that, though, right? And if I didn't like something about the layout or the way that spline worked, you see how quickly it is for me to just grab one of those points and readjust it. And now what I can do is actually, you guys have seen the demo, and it's not at all spoiler. I can go into one of these demo levels, and now now that you've seen a little bit behind the curtain, you'll have an eye for how these are built, right? Like we go to the scene demo. I still have all these levels, right? Earth. We'll go to Earth 2. Right, this is the second Earth level. That's still part of the linear trial thing. Some of these materials look really weird right now. You'll have to forgive me. I broke some of them, but I can fix them really quick. I actually made a really cool feature, and the cool feature is we now actually just support showing a different texture entirely if you're in like a nostalgia mode versus in like real time. Like rather in HD remaster. So we actually, what we do is we used to try to simulate like it going to lower resolution, but we realized, wait, why do that when we could actually just use a lower res texture for real? And doing it's felt a lot better doing it that way. And so we can now kind of to our own artistic discretion, swap out to lower res textures if the player is playing in like nostalgia mode in a way that I think feels quite nice. So what happened to you? But to do that means I now need to specify a low res and high res texture for every material in the game. And I did that pass for all the ones that are used in the final game, but did not get to do it for the ones that are in the demo because, of course, I'm not really supporting the demo anymore. But it's easy. It's generally an easy fix. So have you sent me photos or are you going to send
I'm
those
trying
to
send you the most horrifying picture I have. No, I know I have to turn it to a PNG. I'm just trying to cut it down so it's not gigantic, but
I mean, I can even just like take a screenshot of whatever you send, and that'll turn it into a PNG. So just do whatever. I can figure it out. I'm an expert.
Perfect. You're gonna love it.
I'm excited. Show me the horrors beyond my comprehension.
Horrors
beyond my comprehension that's just a skill issue. I would simply comprehend the horrors.
Okay, I think I got
it. But right, so looking around this demo level, right? So you now have seen our spline systems and whatever, right? So you see we drag out some bespoke models, which are just a bunch of cubic models that we throw one of our triplanar materials on, right? Now that you know that triplanar just scales as the object changes, right? Just slap a different one on if you don't like that one. This is a big cube. Actually, sorry, I have to hide the HUD.
Okay.
This is a big old cube.
Really good picture.
Oh.
Excellent. This is a big old cube, which then meshes perfectly cleanly into the spline. The spline has little fences on the side, but otherwise is a spline. And I just, And then there's a big old little spire that I liked this model a lot at the time, and it curls around that thing. And then it's not a mushroom, it kind of flower, but it's one of these mushrooms, which is an object, it's using the same script actually that launches the player. I could make this 500, and it would then shoot you into the stratosphere that direction, right? And then there's just another procedural cylinder here, which you saw. And then this is it's the same spline as before, but it's different. This is the metal grate spline. The metal grate spline is split into its visual component and its logical component. And also, oh God, it's every time I undo, it's breaking. It's leaving this garbage here in the hierarchy. Don't worry about it. But basically, there's a trigger version of it, which detects that if you're falling through it and you go rock as you fall through it, it'll snap you upward. And then there's the version of it that collision gets turned on while you rock. And so that way it, you fall through it if you're not a slime. You don't fall through it if you are a slime. And it's just using another triplanar texture that has a opacity cutout, so you can see through it. That lets it look like a metal grate all the way through. And so suddenly again, you got a cube, you got some random models, a spline, another spline, a launch pad, a procedural cylinder, some more cylinders, another spline, another cylinder, a few more splines, a few more launchers, and that's like the whole level. That's everything, right? It's you throw some materials, some skyboxes. That's like everything we had for the demo. We've taken it a little farther because one common point of feedback we got here was that some of the levels felt a bit empty, right? You had these large sort of planes where it was nothing but just a solid surface with a texture on it. And so for the final game, we've been trying to push a little more density on some objects we put down. Some little itty bitty fake PNG foliage and other such things. So now we've been given an absolutely delightful photo from Nick here that is just gracing my hard drive with its presence. So you can see it down here. And so, sorry to spoil it here, but what we're gonna do here is I'm just gonna take you. And I got it as a PNG. Open up in File Explorer here.
The PAX memories.
You can tell the story about what that is while I get this sorted out over here.
Oh yeah, that was just I was putting on the makeup. I thought it'd be a really good idea for one of the days of the interviews if I was dressed as Spamton from Deltarune for all the interviews with the face paint and everything. They didn't. No one acknowledged it, and it didn't do anything. But I don't regret it at all.
It was good.
Oh my gosh. We're gonna go. You get your own special folder.
Oh wow!
His own folder in the game. You really are gonna get money from this thing.
Oh yeah. Data miners will be like, "What did this mean?
What the fuck is this?"
We found this bizarre file.
Welcome to what does this mean.png.
Was this originally some sort of horror game?
And so
what was the plan?
What's fun here is so now you can see my Dirt 5 material. It uses this texture. Now it uses this texture.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And there he is. You can see it go all the way up and around. And you can see actually what I can start doing is I can take that material. I can take that material, right? And my favorite is it's actually only doing that. Actually, no, it's doing it everywhere. So let's see. I can take this. I can select this material. And we can just start putting it on everything.
Oh, my God.
And my favorite, you can actually see the way the triplanar works as sort of smears around a different axis.
It's haunted.
You can't tell. For organic textures, it kind of blends really naturally. But for non-organic textures,
God.
You just
Uncle Fester.
Actually, we can even put it on the plane down below. Oh yeah. We can just put this anywhere we want. We have free will. We can do anything we want. You know, people make those retextured things of games all the time, right? They're like Vinny Vinesauce plays where they just do this to all the materials in the game. And so we'll do this a few more things. Yeah, this is about good, right? I wonder if I could actually. We can even do one better. Skybox material using this skybox. Nah, you use this. Okay, it hated that. Never mind. The shader of this material does not support skybox rendering. Okay, my bad. I wasn't familiar with your game. I was pushing a little too close to the sun there.
I crashed the fucking game with my visage.
And then my favorite, actually, would you believe it or not, it's actually cheaper to use the same material everywhere because the GPU can batch more of those renders in one shot.
Even better.
It's actually more performant for me to do this. So there's no problem. And my favorite now we can
speedrunning strat. Put them
yeah. We can increase or decrease the density of you. Do you want more, bigger, or smaller of you?
Let's I think nice big chunks. If it's small, people might mistake it for
like
intentional
newsprint or something.
Yeah, like it's supposed to be there. If it's huge, there's no questioning.
Let's try this.
What exactly they're looking at.
Let's try that, and now let's give it a go. We have free will. We can simply do whatever we want in this life, and no one can stop you.
Incredible! Wow!
Oh wow!
Oh yeah!
This is just like Spare Devil Devs putting this in there.
I know with the CRT filter too. That really. It's like one of those creepypasta videos. Like there's a version of Slam 64. Gamers have mentioned that normally the texture is of dirt, but for some reason the Smiling Man, as he is known, shows up on these random copies.
Yeah, and then he appears right behind you when you're playing the game.
He smiles at you when you turn around. He says, "I wasn't smiling, but I know he was."
Wow, it truly cursed.
It's delightful. Truly diabolical.
Just right
I think this one's my favorite. It's just like the eyes are gone.
Fucking Silent Hill.
Oh god, yeah, Slender Man or something.
Slender Man was the first thing that came to my mind too.
That is the creepypasta version of yourself right there. Wow.
And so this is what it's like, You build the tools.
How you get anything done, is beyond me. I would just be digging around all day.
It's honestly it's a lot of diligence. It is practicing a lot of diligence where it's like, oh god, like I could sit here screwing around and like just practicing my own whatevers and learning forever. But like, at some point you got to stop and you got to, commit to a plan and execute on it. And that's what we've been trying to do, All
right. Well, with that token, I mean, when are we trying to get Slime 64 into the hands of the people? What's the projected release date?
I mean, I would love to sit here on this to be like tomorrow it's done, but no, that's I wish truly. So I'm of two minds. Like on the one hand, like I want this game out the door because it's been so long, and at some point I want to do other things. I have other ideas. I have other cool. I didn't even get to talk to you guys about the whole extended Marble Olympics gels Marble Run style roguelike concept I have in my brain. I want to make like I want all sorts of cool stuff I want to make that like I've been trying to be diligent, but like because every time I like fork off to make some other project, I don't that's more time slime spends withering away.
Yeah, there's only one of you.
But to answer the question, I would love by late next year or early 27 at the latest to be launching. It's a trick of wanting, there's a lot left, admittedly, right? So where we are though, for all 4 of the starting areas, we have their town. We have the exploratory open levels. We have some of the challenges for some of them, not all of them, but some of them. And we have at least a first pass on the set piece or boss encounter for all 4 of them is officially in, which is an incredible spot to be. So we're going to take a step back here, actually, and we're going to kind of polish. We want to do some iteration on the title screen, and that world map should actually be the real world map with the CRT screens, and really kind of beginning to make. I want someone to be able to I want to be able to hand someone the game, and like for the first hour, it feels almost real, like not done, but like wow, this is the experience that it will actually be like to boot up the game, go through the start menu, like the opening menu, run the game. You're hit with the real world map, and you hit a real world, and you kind of get into the town, and you really start everything, and everything starts going. I want to get that. And so we're going to pull back. We're going to do some work on the start screen. We're going to do some work on the world map, sort of get some final polish items in. And then it's on to what I'm calling basically Act 2. Act 1 is the first 4 slimes on their own. Act 2 is the duo slimes that meet the 2 of them. Act 3 is all the slimes meeting together. And then there's a final act where they bring the fight to him. And the 4 hero slimes have met up. They know what they're doing. They've got everything in order, and now it's time to bring the fight to the big bad. And so those are the 4 acts. Act 1 is a very good ways along, and counterintuitively, while the other acts will have bigger levels by virtue of you having all these powers and being able to move way faster, right? There are fewer levels in each of them, right? Because it sort of starts funneling inward. Whereas we needed to make 4 towns and 7 exploratory levels and 20 challenges for the first act, we actually have to make less for these subsequent ones. They can be bigger and take longer, but it's still less levels, if that makes sense. They're fewer, but bigger. No,
I see what you're saying.
And so I actually am confident that a combination of us getting more and more, comfortable building all this, right? We're getting better and better at using our tools. We're making better stuff. You look at this, and I don't love all this. You take all this now, right? And now let's return to the world map. And I'm sure we're going to find some place where in the final game I use that one rock texture. We're going to see his face pop in. You take a look at that, right? And you go over here and you start looking at like levels in the final game. And I'm just going to give you like a really abbreviated sneak peek here. So this is this is the beginning of a level that's in the final game that it hasn't had a visual palace yet. Ooh. So you end up in the Rock Wizard's Tower. That's the Rock Wizard. I love him. It's a placeholder for now. He's the Rock Wizard. His name is Geophagrius. Because geophagy is what it means to eat rocks, and rock slimes eat rocks. But also, it starts with geophagy. His friends call him Jeff. Spelled Geoph. This is the very beginning. We're actually thinking we're going to call this place. All the other towns have names that have been pretty intuitive. You have you guys saw Lavalia for the fire slimes. For the water town, it's Aquario. And for the air slimes, it's Windigo. Right? These are very fun, straightforward names. For the earth one, we struggled a lot. We finally landed on Tectonica, which I really like. Or we're going to call this earth town Tectonica, we think. And again, all this is technically subject to change. So this is this dam level. So you kind of go to a dam. And it's funny because earth, while water has water, earth is the one that actually can go up and down in water. And so water as a concept is really almost just as much an earth mechanic as it is an air mechanic, right?
Totally.
You may appreciate, you guys, having played the demo. One very important feature we've added since you guys have played is a swim button. You can press the X button as any slime in a body of water to get a little swim. And it's just a little boost of speed. There's a way to do a funny speed tech where you kind of like swim, rock, and you kind of start accumulating more speed. Yeah, you kind of momentum cancel it, and you can kind of build more speed. And especially you do that, you kind of do like a drift boost off the ground, that into like a swim cancel, into a slam, into a drift, into a thing, and you start feeling out the movement here. I'm very much a schmovement guy, if you can't tell. My biggest philosophy is that at no moment should the optimal movement for any moment of the game be to simply hold forward and hold a button. If that is the optimal way to move, I have failed you. Like there should be something you could be doing. It doesn't have to be much, but it just more than if the most optimal way to move with rock was to simply hold this and you could never get faster than that, I would think I had failed you. And so the fact that you can kind of do like a drift boost, do a jump into a slam into a drift boost, do like a swim into a jump into a slam into a drift boost, do a jump, swim, jump up into the thing. Yeah, I want there to be something to do, you know. And maybe that's just my ADHD showing, but who knows? But you can see, I think we got.
That's a great way to keep the player engaged.
I think you can see, maybe I'm crazy, but I feel like we've gotten a bit better since that demo of making levels that feel like places. And this is like pre a visual pass, where like this is just like almost a blockout, really. Like it's a one step above. Conversely, I'm fine to show you guys little bits and pieces. I meant you guys got to see that one wind material, right? Like the town. This is close to what we want what we want a finished level to really look like, and this is coming together. I think really nicely.
Yeah. Nice.
It's a city in the clouds, and I'm just delighted with how this is turning. It's very Spyro coded.
Yeah.
The wind power also has gotten a pretty big adjustment since the demo. On the one hand, the actual updraft, you can use it for far less than you could. It was way too powerful.
That's way shorter.
It made the slime. It made the hero slime unstoppable. You could vault mountains with all 4 powers. You were just unbroken. It was really hard to make levels that were interesting when you could always do that. And so the air power got less, but we've introduced other mechanics to still really sell the mechanic of flight. You have these tornado zones that just give you unlimited flight while you're in them and kind of pull you up. Right, so you just while you're in them, you're kind of getting pulled in their direction, and so we realized we could sell the fantasy of flight as an air slime through level design, while kind of limiting the power just a bit to make it feel less utterly destructively powerful. But the other thing we realized is air had no way to interact with the environment; all the others kind of did, and so we gave it an air ball. The air ball gets replaced by the water ball when the two combine, because the water ball just sort of wins in that combination. It's the only time we do that. Every other time, it's just like you get to use all of the facets of both powers, but it's the same button as both. But what's cool is, unlike the water ball that you run through, the air ball kind of gives you this little pushback, which I think felt good. But then I realized, wait a minute, if I shoot it backwards, I can build some speed. And so while this all of this gets completely kind of antiquated once you get the water power, because water gets you way faster than this. Suddenly there's something advanced to do with air to kind of gain a lot of speed that the average player doesn't have to do at all. It is not at all required. But you know, you can build up speed. You can fly all over the place. The last thing I'll show you really quick is that we have this field of view slider. Right, I can crank it. This is the highest I give you. You can go higher, but it really becomes kind of nauseating, I think, past this. And it's amazing how much the game changes its feel when all I've done is change the camera setting. Nothing about your speed has changed you, but you feel like you're moving so much faster through the world, because like you just feel stuff is so much like bigger, and it's flying past the camera so much faster. And so anyway, this has been fun. I'm showing you all over the place. You've asked when it's going to release. Late next year, or even early 2027 at the absolute latest. But I'm also working on other stuff as well on the side. The hope is, you know, to release a game that we're proud of. We're juggling wanting to get it out the door, but really wanting to get it the distance to where it will be big. We're learning firsthand why most indies make smaller things, right? This is 8 worlds with a ton of different environments and bespoke characters with cutscenes and whatever. It takes forever. Dialogue and optional secrets to find. Most indie games are the equivalent of 1 or 2 of our worlds in terms of content, where we have 8 of them. But I think if we manage to nail it, I think we'll be able to deliver an experience that's way meatier than what a lot of the indies are giving. And I think that will help us stand out. Also, I just wanted to call extra attention to the gamer Wind Slime, who has a double monitor setup and he's levitating everything because he's a god gamer. He is working on one of the mini games that I will leave as a surprise for now. We have mini games.
All right, exciting.
Yeah. So anyway, was there anything else we wanted to cover? I don't know if there were any submitted questions you wanted to cover. I know we've been talking for a long time, and I don't want to keep you guys.
I think we got some community Q&A, and we can close that after that, or
yeah, it works for me.
Yes, we got the people. I know. I got everything I could have ever wanted personally. I was like hypnotized after a while looking at that.
Yeah,
this has been super rad.
Yes. I've never seen the tools used in action like that. It's
really used in such a wonderful way.
Yeah. A real peek behind the curtain of game dev. So thank you for sharing that with us, Adam.
Of course.
Yes, thank you. We can go through these rapid fire.
Let someone appreciate all the work we put into these tools, right?
Absolutely.
This is all the stuff the player doesn't see. The player just sees a random trailer with 3 seconds of footage and then goes 64 slop and moves on with their day. And it's like, aha.
It's for those dismissing it. Don't do that. There's so much here.
At some point, it is on us to convince them, you know? Like, at the end of the day, not to be all the customers always right, but like, it is on me to simply demonstrate why I think that's not true. And yeah, if a lot of people have the same takeaway, like, it's on me to find out why they're saying that and do my best to address it. And so I try to maintain a healthy outlook on such things.
Very good, yeah. I love how the water looks in this game. I gotta say.
Yes, thank you. I am delighted to hear you say that.
So good.
That is primarily the brainchild of our technical wizard, Richard. He is our main shader guy. He's also responsible for this wonderful effect where you go behind an object and it cuts out so you can see through it.
Very, very good quality.
He also did that.
And the way that, you know, to get the final me just like gushing about your game.
Hey, listen, I love it.
But like the transition of audio when you go underwater and then the musical track.
Yes, that was me. That was something I cared a lot about.
So good.
And the goal is for every
so good.
The goal is for every level where going underwater is like an intended part of the level to have like a bespoke underwater version of the song.
Yeah,
so, like,
the sound font changes, right? The instrumentation.
And the way the way the N64 did it was they would literally swap out just the instrument file and everything else would stay the same. The way we do it is I actually just like bespokedly make two like wave files and I just blend between them that are the same speed and length and duration and all, and so you just switch between them. However, there are going to be, you know, once you have hero mode, you can actually go underwater in places that you otherwise couldn't. And for those, I don't know that I have it in me to make underwater versions of levels that you're like really never supposed to go underwater. Yeah. But what we do as a compromise is we have I do a low pass filter a filter effect, so they still sound muffled. They get muffled, so they sound like they're underwater, but it is the same song. It's my one compromise. You know, maybe if someone gives me a lot of money to work on this game full time, I'll patch in underwater versions of all the songs. But something you got to make compromises.
On it.
Yeah. What a guy, iconic. Anyway, yes, rapid fire questions.
Yes.
Hit me.
We'll do a lightning round real quick, and this will be our grand finale. So first from Cold Steak, have you ever personally slimed anyone in real life, either by killing them and liquefying their body, I think is what he means, or Nickelodeon green?
I'm afraid I can't say that I have, though. Of course, I was watching those Nickelodeon shows where the people got slimed. I always found it kind of gross, right? I thought that I always looked at that.
It is gross.
That must be the most unpleasant sensory experience ever. And so I no, and I don't think I would on moral ground.
That's the price you get a Teen Choice Award. From Human.
Yeah, best slime flavors.
Yeah, so the best flavor of slime.
Great question. So are we asking like what flavor each like elemental slime would be, and then which one
whatever it means to you.
What your favorite slime flavor is.
Erin is in the background laughing her ass off. Erin, what's your favorite flavor slime? Flavor. What would your? That's the full question. Erin says that the wind slimes would be minty. I think the water slimes would be like blue raspberry, and I think that's my pick.
Then that's the best one.
Fire slimes would probably be like the hot ones, like the cinnamon, like the hot candy. I hate those, so I wouldn't like those, but I think that's what they would be. So yeah, there you go. I would say water slime, blue raspberry.
Right.
And from
Aaron says earth slimes would be a box of assorted chocolate. There you go. You've heard it here
toothpaste, could be caramel. Who knows?
Yeah.
And
only one way to find out.
From Beatstar, the best surface to slime on.
Wow, good. Best surface to slime on. These are fun. It's so funny, right? This is not the best answer to that question. Though I will say ice only because I think it'd be really fun to like take like a gelatinous like imagine taking a block of like Jello and shoving it across like a large icy lake. I think that'd be rad. So my answer is going to be like a very slick black ice surface.
Black ice.
Just because I think it'd be really fun to watch what happens.
Freshly Zamboni black ice.
Yeah. Or
there's a level idea for you.
Yeah.
Ice physics. You know what's funny? The way I would fake ice physics, I can actually do that right here. But I had like 3 different thoughts there. What's so funny is like for a game we're calling it slime. It's all about slimes. We don't really focus much on like the gelatinous nature of the thing, right? We don't focus on viscousness and their ability to absorb. And like some people really do actually take issue with that. And my favorite feedback I get is like when people just basically fanfic an entirely different video game concept at me. Like, well, this was cool and all, but actually it should be one where like you absorb different powers from the environment and it becomes like different ways to do combat against things and blah blah blah. I was like, you've made a very cool game concept in your head that is just not the thing we're making, which is fine. Yeah, and I think some people will very rightly be like, okay, you know, it's 64, but it's only evocative of not following limitations, and it's slime, but you don't really explore a lot of things that make slimes slimy. I'm just like, that's fair. You know, they're blobs. They blorp around. They slime around. We're leaving it at that. We're kind of following like the VeggieTales school of thought almost, where like your slimes get like a little bit of near field telekinesis, you know, where they can pick up objects, and we kind of just don't explore how they do that or why.
It's just intuitive. It's just there. It's just a part of the story.
Could we animate them getting little tendrils that come out of their slimy bodies, and they do it like sure in theory, but like in practice, I don't have that kind of animation chop, and I'm just gonna make the object float around, and it's just a practicality thing. There get to be little elemental blobs.
It's more charming. I think it it fits with the cartoony nature, it would be much more disturbing to have a tendril set to interact with things.
Right? Like I think everything would be odd. So the last thing I'll do really quick, you had mentioned ice physics, right? So I can literally just go to the player and we can find the number that is like ground friction. You can see like the movement ramp up is how long it takes you to get up to speed. This is 50. That's a 10. So suddenly it takes longer to get up to speed. Oh. And if I hold another direction, you see it takes longer for me to change direction. And it's laggy because I have this preview selected. But suddenly I change one number and suddenly I'm slip sliding around, right? I'm like, oh god, I want to get around here.
Some DLC ideas.
But what's funny is if I jump, you even still sort of get that effect where like one number is the magic number that it controls all of the game feel in the universe.
That is super interesting to think about.
Half of game dev is just playing with numbers until you like how it feels.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, you're just
a shocking thing.
Yeah.
We've changed one number and the whole game feels super different. Like now doing this feels awesome because like I otherwise like I'm so slippy slidey. Like I'm like trying to slide down. It's crazy. One number I changed and now the whole game feels completely different.
Super neat.
Game dev is fun. I like it a lot.
Yeah, Adam. Yeah, thank you for your time today. Thank you for coming on and telling us about your game.
Thank you.
Anytime. This has been a blast. The last question I'll ask you three: if you could be an elemental slime, which element would you be?
Fire, because you can double jump.
I was about to say maybe fire. I feel like
some sort of blue flame
practicality out of that.
Yeah.
Blue flame fire slime is really interesting. We haven't explored that concept.
Well, if you do, make sure you name it Nick.
There you go. And Jake, what about you?
It
can just be based on vibes.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Sorry.
Oh, wind. I said.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear you.
Oh, wind.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
My bad.
Wind. No, it's all good. It's probably my mic. Also, sorry, I was muted for a little bit during your demonstration because there's a bunch of loud. Dude, it sounded like possums having like.
Oh no.
Coitus, and I
was
like.
Party.
Having coitus.
And then I didn't realize I hadn't unmuted. I was talking about much. My bad. But wind. Yes.
I'm also real, and I'm still here.
Still here.
I'm glad we got.
I guess I should have done like an embedded thing where you could have seen me in the corner or something while I was doing all that. But it's fine. This has been a blast. Thank you guys so much for having me. It's been a ton of fun.
Thanks for coming on. And hope to have you back on. Hopefully, we'll really get into what makes platformers as a genre, as a idea worthwhile exploring.
Maybe we can both open our projects and mess with numbers until they feel totally
both
different.
of you open them up. We'll both subtly imply we want to be in the game until you guys throw us in the game.
Textures.
And then
excellent. Oh, what would be fun is he gives me his Unity project and I give him mine, and we both just like mess with things in each other's projects.
And then you guys just both release whatever you get on Steam. And when people are like, "What the hell is this?"
Kevin told me that if he dies, it's up to me to finish Sleepy Man and release it for him. Wow. So I told him I'll do it.
Carrying the torch.
We have to set up a thing where on his death certificate I can get access to the source control, the repository.
Is that the sword of Damocles hanging over his head now?
And then mysteriously, suddenly,
the thread just snapped. I don't know what happened.
You didn't put in the clause that I couldn't kill you to get access.
Where can you be found? Where should people find you if they want to see more Slime 64, more of your stuff and more of your games?
So first off, Slime 64 has its own Discord. As you've seen, the demo is fully playable right now on Steam. It's a 2-hour long experience completely for free, and it's supposed to give you just a taste of what the final game is going to give you, we hope. I'm on Twitter and Blue Sky. The Slime 64 Twitter is slime_64. I hate that underscore every day of my life, but someone has had at Slime 64 since like 2011, and they won't give it to me. I've tried. So we're on Blue Sky, we're on Twitter. We've got our own, it's discord.slime64.com. We'll get you right there. You can go to the Steam page at slime64.com. It sends you right to the Steam page. Make it super easy for people. And one day we hope to release it, and we hope people have a great time with it. And until then, we'll just keep working hard and living life. So
beautiful.
Best we can do.
Fantastic.
Yeah, well, we're rooting for you.
Appreciate it.
We get day one.
You guys will be getting copies when it comes out, and all I ask is for a video that says nice thing. Hey, a video that's honest. How's that? A video that's honest, and ideally you like it. I want to earn it. If you really hate it, I want to hear it, but I hope you like it.
I'll probably be the one making that, so don't worry.
Excellent. Looking forward to it.
Beautiful.
Alrighty, guys.
We've been Video Ditch. Thank you all for listening. Until next time. Good night.
See ya.